Hello, listening people.
Hello.
You're listening to Spit and Polish Presents Unappreciated Masterpieces. I am one of your hosts, Ryan Swinski.
And I'm the other one, Bartek.
Hello, Bartek. How are you?
Yeah, you know, right.
Well, we're Spit and Polish, likely because we are always spitting.
And laughing.
And laughing. Well, laughter has spit involved because, saliva.
Yeah.
Unless you have a dry laugh, which I don't like. And we are both Polish. Is that not correct, Bartek?
Tak.
Is that Polish?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I mean, tak.
So, Bartek, you really got me laughing. It's because you're making direct eye contact with me while you speak Polish.
Well, I did say that we laugh on the show.
Yeah, we do, and we cry as well, because we cover unappreciated masterpieces. Movies that haven't gotten the love that they deserve. They're not completely forgotten, but they're not completely remembered either. I wouldn't say that these movies necessarily range in people's top 10 hated list or top 10 loved list, but they are pieces of art crafted by experts or people who have a passion. Someone came up with an idea. They took that idea to Hollywood, and Hollywood said, you know what, that's a great idea. How about we get people involved, a director, a producer, actors. People had hopes and dreams for these pieces of art, and maybe we, the audience, the general masses, didn't appreciate it when they came out.
I agree. Actors are a good idea.
Actors are a good idea. I love movies without them, though. So, Bartek, what is the unappreciated masterpiece we'll be covering in this episode? Because I don't know, because I'm in the episode. I can't read the title of the episode.
Then how do I know?
Because you are from the future, and you've travelled back to tell me what it is.
I see. The film that we are doing on this episode, I almost said today, but you can listen to this anytime, is...
Or night, yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
The movie is Czarownice z Eastwick.
Could you repeat that?
Czarownice z Eastwick.
Okay, I understand one word, which is Eastwick.
Well, there are three words, right?
Is that Polish too? Because
Well,
you're speaking Polish, right?
yeah, it's a
Which is really embarrassing, because I know we're both Polish, but I am not of the language. I can't speak the language. It's really embarrassing. I was born in Australia, didn't get the Polish vernacular down.
You know that this is like the 121st episode, right?
Yeah.
You haven't learnt it yet?
Well, no, it's a really hard language.
That is
Even
true.
you have trouble saying it. Sometimes I'll be like,
Tak.
hey, Bartek, how do you say this word? And you're like, let me look it up. And I'm like, do you know how to speak the language? And you're like, yeah, but it's really hard.
Give me some credit. I look it up in my head.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
So, what's the movie?
Czarownice z Eastwick.
Yeah, but what's it in English?
Oh, right. It is The Witches of Eastwick.
The Witches of Eastwick, or just Witches of Eastwick?
The Witches of
Okay, The
Eastwick.
Witches. No, Bartek, we don't always do this show alone.
From 1987.
Oh, from 1987? Great. I didn't want to get confused with the TV show from 2009. No,
Or the book.
we have guests. We usually just have one guest, but sometimes we like to dabble it up by having more than one guest. We have two guests. We have some witches joining us. Or as male witches, don't want to assume gender of the guests, but if they're males, they're called warlocks. We are joined by Nick and Lachlan from the pitch of this podcast. Hello, guys.
How you going?
Hey.
Now, it's very funny.
We're not doing The Witches of Eastwick because I watched Witches of Eastwick.
Shit.
God damn it.
So, you're
You miss out on so many of those intricate details.
Yeah, they just drop all the joining words like the and in my version.
And of.
It's
and
a much
if.
shorter movie. You'd be surprised how much you can cut out by getting rid of those words.
So, which one's which? Nick, Lachlan, Nick, tell the audience.
Okay, so this voice you're hearing right now is Nick.
Hi, Nick.
And this voice you're hearing right now is Bartek.
Hi, Bartek.
And I'm Ryan!
Now I'm stuck with Lachlan's voice.
Oh,
You poor sucker.
Oh, fuck.
Go a bit more high pitched.
Hi, guys.
There we go.
I'm not that high pitched.
Ryan, be as realistic as me.
Okay. I'll be as realistic as Bartek. So, hey, it's me, Lachlan. How you going?
Hey guys, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? It's Lachlan.
Why do you make me sound like an Italian immigrant on the American boardwalk?
Hey, are you not?
Hey, it's little Jimmy.
Hey, guys, it's me, Lachlan. I carry a switchblade. Watch out.
I carry a switchblade, but I'll shine your shoes. Hey.
Apologies to all the first-time listeners.
So, guys, we are joined by another podcast for this episode. You guys are from another podcast. Tell us a
Correcto.
little bit about it, because, no joke, we've been on their podcast as guests.
That's not a joke, guys. That's right. We had them.
That is 100% a fact.
Then why do I find it so funny?
Now here's the non-joke. I know for ages I've listened to your podcast for quite a while, but I keep forgetting the name because I kept saying to my girlfriend, I'm like, oh, I'm listening to the Pitch Them This podcast, which I was like,
we pitch appliances that you could use
The
in
Eastern
your
Europe ripoff or something.
so I'm like, that doesn't sound right. I'm like, and then every time I look, I'm like, oh, it's Pitcher.
Yeah, if you go to some
This.
sort of market in Southeast Asia, you can find copies of our podcast called the Pitch Them This podcast.
Which is a combination between our podcast and episodes of Shark Tank, I believe.
You know what's really a bummer about your podcast? When I Google it, there's another podcast with the same name that's about photography that's high on the list.
You
And I
have
listened to their
no
podcast
idea.
accidentally one time, and I'm like, this doesn't sound like Nick and Lachlan. Why aren't they talking about
is
what they talk about?
Problem we spoke about during the week. We were like, how do we become bigger as a podcast? All right, so we tried Googling it, and we don't come up. Yeah, so
You're like fourth down.
search. Yeah, it's not great, but you know what?
It's
worth the
it's
hunt.
the photography podcast, and I think there's a Glaswegian band.
There is, and also there's another podcast called Picture This that owns a lot of the domain names associated with the podcast, and it's actually a very similar concept, but they haven't existed for like 3 years. So
Oh, there you go.
Well, you should have your podcast be named after a cleaning for you, like...
So
I meant euphemism for cleaning, but I
yeah,
said
that's
cleaning.
us, Spit and Polish. So what is it that you do on your podcast? Because I know I've been on there. I was pretty good.
Cool.
But
I
tell
was
the
too.
people who haven't.
Locke and I just nodded at each other. I guess to handle it to one another. On the count of 3, we'll explain. Picture This is an I thought we were going to say it at the same time.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know if we were doing like a one word at a time thing. Okay.
Picture
This
is
about
and I don't really feel like you've gone down the wrong way. Picture
this
is
a
improvised
comedy
and
film
podcast
where
we
make
up
a
movie
based
off
of
3
random
prompts.
Exactly.
We make up completely random movies.
Okay,
off
you
3
broke
random
the
things.
one word thing.
Well,
okay.
people might have been, not completely on board with that, but we make up a movie. Movies these days, they are too much the same, so we thought, let's go back
They're
to
all
originality.
reboots, remakes, sequels, prequels.
Yeah, 100%. So we thought we could actually have a crack at doing our own, and we've come up with, so far, many, many original movies.
Also, not that good.
Well, you be the judge.
What's the best one? What's the one that you legitimately want to see as a movie out of the
Locke?
ones you've made?
I know Locke has a definitive answer for this.
He looks a bit stumped, though.
No, he does know.
It's me, Lachlan. I know.
Hey, my favourite one is... I know, it's the Quidditch one.
Oh, the Quidditch one is good.
That's
Yeah,
the one
I like that.
whenever we get asked that, that's the one you've typically said.
What's it called?
Mid-afternoon Quidditch, that one was called.
Classic. Who's the lead star?
Come
Come on.
Elijah Wood.
No, it wasn't Elijah Wood. I know we had the original Harry Potter trio in there, but only as cameos.
Hard to say exactly. It's a very old episode. We used to be on community radio, so it's from back then.
Back in the day, but
in
now
the
you're
day.
on proper non-community
Now we're on
radio.
the internet, which is much more exclusive. So just in case people, wanted to, go back into the archives, there is a Quidditch-based podcast.
What about you, Nick? What's your favourite episode?
I like one we did very recently. Not setting out for you guys necessarily, but there was one we did with Fuzzy Dan,
That's-
who's
yep.
like the puns, called
Great
Perplexed.
Yeah.
Will be.
Yeah.
About
Listen to that one.
an apocalyptic shark-based tidal wave,
Caused by an alien-infected meteorite.
which gives Vladimir Putin the opportunity to be the world savior that we all know him to be.
Wow,
with the
that's
ancient skill of samurai.
That's so similar to
New
the
Fast and
movie that
Furious.
we're covering in today's
Oh,
episode.
good. Seamless segue.
The Witches of Eastwick, the 1987 George Miller movie with, everyone's in it, really. I mean, it's even got Richard Jenkins in it. I mean,
got some
everyone's in
names.
it. It's got,
I do like Richard
like,
Jenkins.
it's got, 6 Oscar-nominated and/or winning actors in it, and
RJ,
directors.
as we call him.
RJ?
RJ.
Different. Reggie. So,
Reggie
guys...
Jedge.
You've got to have a copy of the movie at home, because I imagine everyone has a copy of the film, and if you're an idiot like me thinking the Australian Netflix will still have a copy a week after you looked, a week after you added it to your watch list, it doesn't. Fuck you. That's what That's what George Miller said on the Australian Netflix.
He said, "Fuck you."
I remember Polish Presents, proudly brought to you by Netflix Australia.
He got rid of it from the Netflix catalog, and he uploaded a video of him going, "Middle fingers to you, fuck you," and
holding his Oscars.
and he got me. He got me good. He
Ryan,
really did.
When I left last week, you were like, "It's on Netflix, so you can find it easy." I'm like, "Oh, good." Then I couldn't find it. And I was like, "Oh, I guess it must have been a different film."
Literally, it was
You
there.
punked us.
Yeah, I got punked. The real movie is Punked the Movie. So no,
Which you would watch.
you've got to have a copy
Well,
of
they
this.
made Jackass a movie, so surely they do Punked a movie.
Do it now. Do it right now, because no one's expecting Ashton Kutcher to punk you. See, watch out.
I'm on edge.
So you have to have a copy, because we're gonna watch the movie. I'm gonna do a countdown from 3, and I'm gonna say play, and you're gonna press play as well, and we're gonna hopefully be lined up as we talk about the brilliance of the Witches of Eastwick. So get ready, because we're gonna start this in 3, 2, 1, play. So good cough.
It opens up on a beautiful black screen,
Warner
transitioning
Bros.
to...
Pictures.
Did
a
you know
Warner
they're
Communications company?
Did you know they're Polish? The Warner Brothers.
No.
I do now.
Who
else is Polish?
Bartek?
Is he one of the Warner Brothers? Are you Bartek Warner?
I put the
Yes.
sound on accidentally. Fun fact, there was an episode in which we were pitching the idea of if we had to remake Surf Ninjas, the classic Rob Schneider movie, and we had the guest try to do a pitch of this, I guess. Pitch a different plot to the movie with different actors, and we played the Warner Brothers. We were just improvising. So, yes, he is a Warner, I guess.
That was like almost 3 years ago.
What do you mean you pitched a new idea for the movie?
Well, we said if you had to...
So you just made up
So
another movie.
With the title.
With the title and the similar premise of kids who become who are surfers who become ninjas, and the movie starred Keanu Reeves, our version, and Bill Cosby. It was a simpler time 3 years ago. So this film is now about a minute and 8 seconds in. For those at home wanting to know, we're having a beautiful dissolving shot from a church to, I guess,
Some naked
Naked.
statues.
This has a very similar vibe. I was really surprised at the level of talent of this movie, because the score is done by John Williams,
I was surprised to
directed
find
by
out that as
George
well.
Miller. It's got Cher, Michelle Pfeiffer. It's got Susan
our boy.
Sarandon, Richard Jenkins. Jack Nicholson, of course. It's got everyone. It's even got the giant from Twin Peaks. What?
His most notable role.
It is.
Didn't he play Lurch?
He also played Lurch, but in cult figure status, he will forever be known as the Giant from Twin Peaks. And/or the Giant from Star Trek The Next Generation. He plays Deanna Troy's mother's servant, and they're basically the same character.
Probably the most iconic character.
It's actually a really popular character for Star Trek fans.
I'm not aware, yeah.
In Star Trek Next Generation, he's tinted, he's got he's slightly blue-skinned because he's an alien, and
Naturally.
he's giant. He's the Giant, in case you wanted to know,
They've
guys.
wrapped him in cellophane.
And he plays Luxana Troy's servant, and he's basically the same character as he is in this movie, except for he's an alien in blue. Down to little things, like in Star Trek, she gets kidnapped while he's picking flowers, and he turns around and he's got this befuddled look on his face, which is very similar to near the end of this movie when Jack Nicholson takes the car and drives off without him, and he just walks out of a shop with a bunch of shit, and he's just like, "What happened?" It's great. So
The footage is so similar, you could actually splice one movie into the other and just
Yeah.
have a slightly bluer tinge on it.
So, this is a movie from 1980s. It's got, I would say, 3 of the most talented and attractive women of that era. I mean,
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Michelle Pfeiffer. This was before Catwoman, right? Because it's 1987, and that was
Yeah, well, the
Batman 1989.
Yeah.
So even before he did the Joker, Jack Nicholson. This guy also
Is
looks
Jack
like...
Nicholson one of the most attractive women in Hollywood, did you say?
Yeah.
No.
He is.
Did you see
He
it?
is a horny little devil.
This guy, I know how to go to Star Trek, but this guy really does look like the character of Riker in Star Trek Next Gen, but it's not him, in case you wanted to know.
These references are just obviously, I mean, they're going over my head. I don't know about you,
Did you not watch,
Bartek and
did
La.
you not
If
know
you were
Star
here
Trek?
last Sunday, Ryan talked about Star Trek pretty much the entire day.
What movie did you do?
We weren't
didn't
doing a
even do the-
movie. I was watching Star Trek when Bartek arrived, and it was like a really early episode of Next Generation, and I'm just like, okay, Bartek, you're walking in on some random imagery here. Let me explain it to
I
you.
wasn't even looking at it.
But I didn't know that. I was like, okay, why is Data dressed up as Sherlock Holmes? Let me explain. So, okay, this is an interesting movie, and I'm going to ask the question I always ask, which is...
The Witches of Eastwick, not Star Trek Next Generation, just to clarify.
Those are good movies, though.
Yep.
Okay, enough about Star Trek.
Yeah, I was like, don't give him a reason.
Oh boy, did you know Tom Hardy's one of his first big starring roles in a motion picture was Star Trek Nemesis, which he played a young Patrick Stewart?
Didn't know that.
No, that's true, 100%. He played a young cloned version of Patrick Stewart. It's actually really interesting because he's really skinny
That is funny to imagine him as very...
and bold. Full bold.
I would assume.
Patrick Stewart never had hair.
Oh boy, you haven't seen Dune in a while.
Straight out the womb, and his parents were like, "We need to shave his head because we got to give him a defined."
I like how you think they need to shave it. The idea that some babies aren't always hairy.
He came out with a mane.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask the question. What is our history with this movie? Do we have one, Bartek?
No.
No, nothing.
You've told me about it, and that was it. That was it for me.
What about you guys?
This could have very easily been a movie that was like on it, because on Friday night, back when they did more movie programming on TV, like the 10 o'clock movie that was going to run into midnight.
Yeah.
That is the only time I think it could have ever possibly stumbled across my eyes. Until then, as I rewatched it for this, I had not seen it
Or
at
heard
all.
of it?
No, I probably had heard of it. I'd probably heard of it. Just never like... Because it's not obviously critically acclaimed. It's not one of those ones that pops up in everyday lingo.
Not on Netflix.
If it's not on
Take
Netflix...
that multi-million-dollar corporation.
Fun fact. Netflix on Australia did have it, and it scratched my... I scratched my head because it was in the, not comedy category, but award-winning comedy category, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I looked it up. No. Just like, what did it win?
Hasn't won any awards?
Maybe some...
It was
like,
nominated for a lot.
MTV Best
yeah, but
On-Screen
not
Kiss.
winning, but for who? Which one? He kisses a lot of them.
That's all of them.
All of them?
Oh, sorry, MTV most amount of on-screen kisses.
There you go. What about you, Lachlan?
I think I have to agree with Nick in that I remember, like, there would have been, I think Channel 9 would have done, like, a double feature with the film adaptation of Roald Dahl's The Witches,
Very similar movies.
back to back with this.
And
Are
it'll
they
be
not
good
sequels?
because...
Are they
No,
not?
and it makes sense because Angelica Houston was Jack Nicholson's wife for a period of time, so... kind of lines up. And she was originally going to be
Good
cast...
on you, Channel 9.
She was going to be originally cast in this movie
Was she as who?
as Cher.
Oh, as Cher. Okay.
As Jack Nicholson.
Because think about it, you got to have a blonde one, a redhead one, and a dark-haired one, so you know whose kids they are at the end.
I mean, you're talking about the people in the room right now as well. So.
The Neapolitan ice cream of women, which is a horrible thing to say. I
So
apologise.
is
but
what, Bartek the Jack Nicholson of the group?
he's the most Nicholson-esque, I would say.
I would say out of
Thank
all of us, he's the Nicholson-esque, so that makes me Susan Sarandon.
The film won a BAFTA award for Best Special Visual Effects.
Oh, at the end? When Jack turns into a
guess.
demon? It was pretty good.
Los Angeles Film Critics, New York
It's
Film Critics.
so funny because
Saturn, that's
when
it.
we guested on your show afterwards, we talked about like, oh, I want to do this movie with you guys, and Nick was very firm on, oh, Lachlan's seen it before, and I'm just like, oh, has he? And
He told me he had it, and
And Lachlan's just like, I think so, maybe, who knows?
I possibly could have.
I had no reason to disagree.
So you
You
guys,
said you did.
You
I
guys,
possibly could have. I've seen a lot of films.
So have I.
Yeah.
So
okay.
you three are a little bit either you haven't seen it, or you're not as familiar with it, or you've heard a little bit about it. I grew up with this movie. I
So
love
was this one of
this
the,
movie.
was this one of the films that like you constantly rewatched growing up?
Yeah. Because
Okay.
I've said this before many times on the show. My parents bought DVD when DVDs first came out. My parents didn't have that thing that we all have the benefit of now of going, do I want that one? Maybe. Do I know it's a good movie? And you look at it like this was like they went, oh, that's got such and such in it. They're good. I'll buy it. So they would buy every DVD. And this was one that they had seen before, and they're like, Jack Nicholson as the devil. Oh boy, and bought it.
We are in for a ride.
And they knew I would love it because my favorite movie growing up as a child was Mars Attacks, the one with
yes.
Jack Nicholson as two characters.
Yeah, right.
And he does a little vocal inflection later on in this movie, which is the same as he does in Mars Attacks. Like, there's
Really?
just this little bit where he's just like, why don't we invent a vaccine to get rid of women? And I was like, this is like him as the president, Mars Attacks.
That's a good segue, because one of my favorite facts about this film is that one of the producers,
John Peters.
possibly, I can't remember his name,
We know his name.
It's John Peters.
It's John Peters, go on.
wanted to somehow incorporate aliens into the film.
So, for those listening at home, which is everyone I imagine, or on the bus, John Peters is a well-known Hollywood producer.
Mm-hmm.
He's behind such things as... Good one. He's behind such
Trying to be
things
quiet
as
about it.
Batman 1989,
Yep.
Wild Wild West.
Mm-hmm.
He was going to be in charge of the Superman movie with Nicolas Cage as producer.
Yeah.
As a producer, he's very famous because he's insane. I think he's married. He was married or in a relationship with Barbra Streisand,
Yeah, right.
or Liza Minnelli. Can't remember which one. And he's very famous because he was a hairdresser who then turned producer. And he's insane because
Pretty natural progression.
in Batman 1989, he was also doing crazy stuff. So in this movie, he wanted to have aliens in it for some reason
Yes.
because Aliens was a successful movie. In Superman,
Wait,
Superman.
sorry, when you say because Aliens was a successful movie, as in the Alien franchise.
Yeah,
Aliens
kind of
came out a
Aliens
year
weren't-
beforehand, or a year or two before.
So
Aliens.
James Cameron's Aliens came out just as they were entering pre-production for this.
Oh,
So he was like, "We gotta have aliens."
No,
in it."
I get that. I get the timeline there, but he wants that kind of alien.
No,
or
he
He
just
just
said
wanted,
aliens.
he just wanted an extraterrestrial
So the
figure.
funnest fact in the world is
sure.
John Peters rocked up to set one day with a stuntman dressed as an alien, and expecting George Miller to do something with him.
I believe
like-
it was put him in any scene you can.
Any scene you want, doesn't matter how, just pop him in there.
Pop him in.
But Ryan, that's the only thing he's done that's weird, right?
No, for instance, in Batman 1989, he wanted Batman to have rollerblades. Just rollerblade around.
I don't know.
The funny thing is, if he only waited, not even, waited 10 more years and talked to Joel Schumacher, Joel Schumacher
that's
would have
the
been
thing.
like,
He
I'll
did-
one-up ya.
He did ice skates. And then, of course, the most iconic one is there's a whole documentary about the death of I can't remember, Superman Lives or whatever, the one with Nicolas Cage.
The Death of Superman
The Death
Lives.
of Superman, yeah. Where Kevin Smith, the famous writer director, wrote the script to the movie. He had to have one-on-one meetings with John Peters because John Peters was the guy he had to go to. And John Peters' favorite movie growing up was King Kong, and he was like, "I feel like we need to have this kind of Superman be different, inspired by King Kong a little.
Yeah.
You and I, we both know Superman. You and I, we're very similar to Superman. We both are like him. We grew up on the streets."
the main streets of.
And then Kevin Smith's like, "I didn't grow up on the streets, nor did Superman." He's like, he didn't want Superman to fly. He didn't want him to have a cape. And he wanted him to fight a giant spider. That's what he wanted. He was like,
I'd
it's like
pay
in
to see
King
it.
Kong when King Kong fights a giant spider.
And doesn't fly and doesn't wear a
Yeah,
cape.
yeah. He wanted him to fight a giant spider.
Does
and
he
then
not wear a cape?
the movie died. The movie didn't get made. And then Kevin Smith told the story. It's a great story where he went to go see Wild Wild West, produced by John Peters, and we all know Wild Wild West
Yeah,
is the movie
it's-
where there's a giant mechanical spider at the
Yeah.
end. It's like, oh, he
Very
finally got
good.
his spider.
Symmetry.
So John Peters being crazy for both Bartek and I. Like, Bartek, you said you didn't notice his name in the credits when you watched it last night. I
Yeah.
did.
Only when I look at
I
the
saw
trivia.
it and I went like this. I wrote in my notes, I went, gotta read the trivia because I knew there was going to be something fucking
Something
crazy
great.
about John Peters. He is a madman and I love him. I want to meet him.
I kind of just want some studio to turn to him and go, "Here's a butt ton of money. Do what you want." Because
What
can
will
you
he come up
imagine?
with?
Yeah, a film where there's an alien in the background for no reason, fights a giant spider and a giant monkey that doesn't fly and wears a cape. I don't know what film that would be.
Yeah.
But I feel like I want to see that.
John Peters, man, he's my hero. He's kind of one of my heroes. But so you guys aren't familiar with this as much. I grew up on this movie. I love it. I love everyone involved. I've always been a huge fan of Jack Nicholson.
He's great.
When I was in high school studying drama, I wrote a whole essay on him because you had to choose an actor to write an essay on, and you got given actors, and there was no Jack Nicholson option, and I walked straight up to my drama teacher, and I was given Adam Sandler, and I was
Same actor.
and no joke. This was in high school. He had printed off pictures of each actor and like little facts. As like include these just because it was fun. It was like year 8, and I walked over and I was in a police station. I walked over, slammed the piece of paper on his desk, and went, "This? come on, sir. And I demanded to give it Jack Nicholson, because Jack Nicholson's the fucking best.
You know what you could have done? You could have just done your whole essay on, what was Anger Management?
Yeah.
The film that Adam Sandler and Jack Nicholson are in.
That's true. And then it was like Anger Management with Heather Graham as well, because I love Heather Graham.
It's funny you say that, having studied him in high school, because the Year 12 media film that Locke and I studied fairly extensively was The Shining.
Classic.
So Nicholson obviously rearing his head in that quite a bit. I remember.
I thought you were going to say Sandler rearing his head in that.
If you look very carefully,
it's me, Adam Sandler.
Sandler making a great appearance on the podcast. But yeah, being able to write about him in the Year 12 exams was good. It's a highlight of school for me.
I love it.
Haven't seen the movie since.
Really, it's a great movie.
I do.
Yeah, it's a great film, but like you don't understand how much we had to watch.
Trust me, I had to study Blade Runner as my one in high school. Yeah, but here's the difference. At least for me, I know a lot of people love Blade Runner, but Blade Runner has far less emotions and narrative going on than The Shining does.
Which cut of Blade Runner did you have to watch?
Cut.
2049, actually.
The best cut.
Yeah, the other media class when I was in Year 12 did Blade Runner and Donnie Darko.
I wish I did.
What did you get to do?
I did Untouchables and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Both good films. One has Robert De Niro beating a guy's head in with a baseball bat. It's really weird that it was Butch Cassidy and the Sundance
We got
Kid.
to one of the other films we studied, and this was like one of the things that stood out to me in Year 12 was how much that we'd done this film to death, and I was so upset about it. Is we watched my favorite movie, Aliens, as in the second one.
Oh, John Peters like that too.
Yeah, and we watched it to death, and I was like, oh, this is so unfortunate, because I love it, but now I'm starting to hate it, and it was the worst thing ever.
Have you been able to go back and watch it?
I've probably watched it a couple of times since, but not.
Bill Paxton though.
What about him?
He was great in it.
Yeah, I
mean, no matter
Game
how much,
over, man.
no matter how
Game
much you
over.
watch it, you can't not like him.
It's my favorite movie and favorite franchise of all time. I love it.
Yeah.
I think I only
Only the first two. Are the only
we
ones
did
I really
we did
sort
Year
of-
12 in 2013. I think I only just got to be able to comfortably rewatch Aliens last year when I was marathoning them all for Alien Covenant.
Yeah,
Now,
right.
fun fact.
I've not talked about this movie
Veronica
once.
Cartwright, who stars in this movie as I'm blanking on her name, the crazy woman who vomits. Felicia.
Yeah.
She's iconic. If you want to look at her in this scene, she is in Alien. She's
In Alien or An Alien?
she is in the film Alien.
Ah, yes.
She's I'm blanking on that character's name.
Oh, so
too.
I said yes, like I agreed. I didn't know that.
She's the other woman in Alien, like the first Alien movie, the kind of dorky, cute one, and she's one of the last ones to go, actually.
Yeah.
Forgetting her name, but yeah, she's in Alien. That's
you
quite a
go.
weird connection. Like, yep, that's her, and she's
Lots of Alien.
So do you reckon? Do you reckon John Peters walks up on set with a stuntman dressed as a xenomorph outfit,
and she was
and
like,
then she walks around the
flashbacks.
corner going, "Oh my god!"
Oh my god, it's John Peters.
What a huge dick.
Of course, another great John Peters thing about this movie is when Cher had to get in the bed with literally all the snakes, she said, "Which one's John Peters?" Because apparently he's disgusting.
Shocking.
Richard Jenkins, everybody. Look at him with hair. Look at him with hair. He's like
Doing
Patrick
alright.
Stewart. He's barely got any. Woo!
Richie Jedge.
I mean, he's an Oscar-nominated actor. I mean, he was in Shape of Water. You know, classic. What a legend. So, I grew up with this movie. Not only did I study Jack Nicholson, I went on
Snow
after high
Egrets.
school. I went on after high school to go to university, and I majored in drama. And I auditioned for NIDA, which is one of the the prestigious acting school of Australia.
An alum of NIDA, so he's well aware.
Oh, you are?
What?
Lachlan? An alum of NIDA.
Oh, am I?
Yeah, so I went there, and you had to choose. You got given 2 monologues to perform, and you get
Yep.
to choose one of your own.
Okay.
I chose for my own monologue Jack Nicholson's church scene in this movie.
Wow.
Did you really?
I played it as if he was a drunken man coming in, because in this movie the context is he's getting voodoo dolled at the same time. But I played it as this drunk man who's coming in, ruining this, bitching about women and stuff. And I got through the second stage of auditions using that, and then I had to do a Shakespeare, and then they didn't let me in. So. I have a real attachment to this movie. I genuinely love this movie. George Miller is one of those directors who's not a conventional director. I mean, he's not a Hollywood guy, and this is his first Hollywood movie proper. And he got dicked around making this movie. This is a movie that you can watch knowing by just watching it that this had studio meddling and interference behind the scenes, because it is a little bit of a mess. But I think the messiness adds to the whole thing in general, because this film doesn't answer a lot of questions it sets up in a good way. Like, it leaves you to go, okay, are they witches? How did they get their powers? You know, I was talking about this with my fiance last night. I've always interpreted it as they got their powers once they were impregnated by Jack Nicholson.
That's how most witches come to be.
Because he's... And this is, again, something for you guys to answer. Do you think he's the devil or a demon? Because the film doesn't say if he's literally the devil himself. You get little jokes like, I'm a horny little devil, but...
Yeah, it was like only after I finished watching the film and started researching it that everyone kept saying, oh, he's the devil. I'm like, oh, I don't remember that being said in the film. Did I miss it?
It's never said. And I was saying, oh, when when they get impregnated after having sex with them, that's when they gain powers. But then my fiance's like, yeah, but they already had powers before because they summoned him to begin with, and they all had thoughts together.
True,
and then I'm
true.
like, the film does raise this question of women are not necessarily like normal, their nature as he describes them, like they're forces with powers that are just deep down inside.
Yeah, sort of like hidden beneath the surface.
Because man has pushed it down that way.
Yeah, right.
Through persecution, through the years, through the hundreds of years.
That is not something that I sort of thought of the first watch through, but you raise a good point.
Isn't this a multi-layered film?
Isn't it just? Nicholson's first appearance right now, by the way.
Snoring his way through?
Good stuff.
I mean, I was watching this being like, hey, they're not making it too obvious that he's the devil, but then I went through my notes again. It's like, oh yeah, he gets introduced with demon sounds coming out of his mouth, so kind of goes out the window.
Yeah.
I watched it as like him being a demon in my mind, because I think through all like literature, film, everything that I've seen that introduces the devil, that these people, they do a pretty good job of vanquishing the devil come the end of things. So I feel like the devil would have put up more of a fight.
I guess, but that's
not in my experience.
Because, well, I don't know. I don't think he's kind of that devil who he needs worship and love and affection to survive. So he doesn't necessarily do overtly evil things outwardly. It's not like whenever he does evil powers things, they don't really know that he's doing them, or he does them when they're not around. It's not like he's like floating in the air, shooting fire out of his fingertips. I think at the end of the day, he goes through all of these terrible things because of these women, but I think he still thinks at the end he's going to get with them and love
he still
them.
thinks they ride off into the sunset together.
Yeah, I kind of interpreted that he was created from their desires, so that was like why he was so attached to them. Like, I thought the film was actually saying that, but...
Interesting. I never thought that. Like, I thought he was
He
legit
is what
the
they
devil.
wanted.
Well, that's because, like, in his first meeting with all of them, he was just expressing himself in ways that they were attracted to him. So...
Yes.
Well, I suppose the summoning of him was like the deal with the devil. They got what they wanted, but at what cost?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was that
You've convinced me. He's the devil now.
Well, I always interpreted him as the devil, but if you think he's a demon, it still works.
Well, with that interpretation,
He's from hell.
He's not a good guy. He's not the
He's
most
from out of
lovely
town,
person.
Ryan. Be right.
But it's weird because I want to know what you guys think. I obviously have an attachment towards Jack Nicholson as an actor, as a human. I genuinely felt for him in moments of this movie, even though his character has done nothing but be deplorable. But there's moments in this movie where he's just like, but I want to be with you guys. I like you guys. And I'm just like, I feel for this guy, man. I kind of feel sad for him.
Hit a little bit close to home.
Oh, yeah, because I'm the devil. Whoops, they found me.
And Bartek, Locke, and I are, well, we're ready.
But
Again, you've got your blonde, your brunette, and your ginge.
Well, there are 3 people in this room, and you said I'm Jack Nicholson, so...
well, 2 of us could be Jack.
Okay.
Jackie Boy Nicholson. But did you guys like Jack Nicholson in this movie?
I don't I feel like I haven't seen a movie where I'm like, Jack Nicholson really sucked in that. He knows what he knows his sort of role, and he plays it very well. And I've always seen him. I've always thought that of him. He's definitely fun to watch in here. Definitely not someone you'd want to be friends with, but you know.
But like, I think I was saying this before we even started recording. Has there ever been anything that Jack Nicholson's not good in?
No, he's great in everything.
He's great in everything.
Think about this.
Even anger management with Adam Sandler.
Oh, he's the best part of the movie.
yeah.
Yeah, him and Heather Graham, but because I love Heather.
She's listening.
Hi Heather. Can't wait to cover your movie, The Guru. But you know, Jack Nicholson's one of those guys. Where think about this in modern day Hollywood. You know, we have all these big superhero movies.
Yeah.
Right. You know, they cast someone as an actor of a character, and you're like, oh, that's perfect, or whatever. Back in the 80s, when they cast Jack Nicholson as the Joker, everyone was like, that's perfect. And then no one questioned that he was, like, really old.
Yeah,
like,
right.
he's pretty old for that character. But
would
no
say
one
so.
questions it because you're just like,
It's
perfect.
Jack Nicholson.
It's perfect. Like, who else
Yeah.
would you have? He's crazy. That guy's insane. And he's insane in this movie. Because, again, who would you cast as the devil or a demon?
Other than Adam Sandler.
Back in the late 80s.
Even now, I'd still
even
cast
now.
Jack Nicholson.
That's yeah. Well, you couldn't.
Did you see him in The Departed?
Well, we can't cast him anymore because I don't know if you saw this lock, but I was talking to Ryan about it before we got here. Jack Nicholson announced his retirement this week.
He's announced his retirement ages ago.
No, he's still he did small amount stuff. It came out
Yeah,
this
he
week.
just
so-
did. He's just been doing a movie that's based on a French film about like a father who's been absentee, who's like a comedian or something. It's gonna be. I think it'll be great because I like the original French film. So,
But yes, this week he announced done and dusted. No more Jackie.
I swear I thought like years ago he said that he...
He's definitely dialed it back significantly.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think, and I could be completely wrong here, I think there was something along the lines of he had early onset dementia.
that's one of those things where
And so it was
people
getting hu- it was
said,
getting- it was
people
getting-
said that, but there was no clear
Yeah.
source of that
But
information.
yeah, so like the rumor was he was getting dementia and it was getting hard for him to learn his lines, and that's why he started dialing it back.
Well, that's what the articles that I'd been reading about it didn't directly say that, but they said that the whole process was taking it a lot out of him and he was finding it more difficult. Which, you know,
I mean, he's
could be a
old.
thing.
Which
yeah.
is fair enough. And
He's very old.
He's
He's
got a
getting-
busy schedule. He's got to hook up with all those LA Laker girls.
He can't be Christopher Plummer level. You know, Christopher Plummer's like 90 years
take
old.
that back.
and Jack Nicholson doesn't have
He's
to
the
be
new
Christopher.
plumber. It doesn't have to be. No.
He's no Betty White.
Yeah, but also like I reckon Jack Nicholson and Christopher Plummer led very different lives.
Yeah, I think Chris was a little bit more straight laced.
Yeah.
I like how there's just generations of actors who are just clones of Jack Nicholson. Like Michael Keaton is just a little Jack, like he's a
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson, and then you have Christian Slater. He's a Jack Nicholson type, and it just goes on and
You can
on.
see the influence. It's yeah. He's a big boy. He's an important man
He's a big boy.
in the grand scheme of things.
He's a multi-time Oscar-winning actor.
You
Yeah, I
could
heard-
say he's done some things.
The biggest of boys, then.
Not as big as Daniel Day.
I heard a story. It was Robin Williams was doing an interview when he talked about winning the Oscar for Good Will Hunting, and I think Jack Nicholson won that year as well for As Good as It Gets.
Yeah.
And so they're backstage at the press section of it, and Jack Nicholson turns to Robin Williams and go, "Well, Rabbo, now I've got one for every decade."
Classic Jack. Jack's one of those guys, man. I mean, he's an old school actor. I said multiple times to my fiance when watching this last night, I'm like, there's just not actors like Jack Nicholson anymore. Like this crazy nut job guy that they cast as the lead role and not necessarily rely on the fact that he's going to be a crazy nut job, because
They
you have
probably-
movies like As Good as It Gets or About Schmidt, and he's still crazy, but like
Dialed down crazy.
Dialed down.
Well, his level of actor couldn't probably exist these days. People would be like, "Oh, that's not an appropriate way to be on set and behave towards anyone." Whether it's
Oh,
like
you
getting
mean-
involved in general, I think.
You mean when he
his
brought
off-screen
a
persona-
real gun in The Departed and pointed it at Leonardo DiCaprio's face and it was loaded? Because that's actually what
I haven't
happened.
heard that story.
That's 100% true. If you watch The Departed, there's a scene where he randomly grabs out a gun and slams it on the table and points it in Leo's face. A real gun. His gun. And Leo was like, it was the best moment of my career because I felt genuine terror. I'm like,
That's
of course
amazing.
you would, because Jack Nicholson might
Has a-
shoot you in the
Jack
fucking
Nicholson
face.
has a fucking gun.
Scorsese was like, brilliant. Brilliant.
Shoot him again.
Yeah, that's a true thing. He brought a real gun.
Yeah,
'cause he's
somehow,
a crazy man.
somehow I feel like that might be not okay.
Jared
nowadays.
Leto has brought method acting down to a whole new level with sending live animals and used condoms to people. So I think if that's acceptable, whatever the
Yeah.
fuck Jack Nicholson would do is completely
I've had
acceptable.
many conversations with some of the actor friends that I've got, and in regards to method acting, where is the line? line?
Yeah.
Where is too
I
far?
feel like when it's not directly negatively impacting people around you.
Have you seen the documentary on Netflix? And I know it's on Netflix because it hasn't been taken down yet. Jim and Andy?
No. Oh, yeah, the one about Jim Carrey
Jim
becoming
Carrey played
Andy
Kaufman
Kaufman.
for Man on the Moon.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting breakdown.
So
of
there
method
was
acting.
a comedian, actor comedian in the late 60s, early 70s called Andy Kaufman. He was sort of like a performance artist.
He was
comedian.
crazy.
He was not a Jack Nicholson crazy, but definitely
He is the type of crazy. He would say, I'm performing a stand-up comedy show. You rock up, and he's reading all of The Great Gatsby.
that.
These days, he'd be called like a troll.
Yeah, he was a
basically.
troll. He would
Yeah.
read all The Great Gatsby. People would heckle him, and he
Very
goes,
fringe.
"Oh, you want me to do my old school material? You want me to do the Mighty Mouse?" Because he used to do Mighty Mouse, where he would play
He would
on
just
a-
lip sync.
He would lip sync to the song, and he goes, "Oh, okay, I'll do my old school material." And he grabs out the record player, and he lines it up perfectly to where he was in The Great Gatsby. Because he's an arsehole. But
That's
yeah,
very
Jim Carrey
funny.
played him in a movie.
Yeah, right.
And then in the doco, so Andy Kaufman doesn't real person Andy Kaufman. Should we just hang on a second before I finish the story and appreciate this scene with Jack Nicholson?
Can we appreciate every scene with Jack?
This was
He's about to deliver the greatest line in the film. If you
This
ask
is
me.
Roger Ebert's favorite scene.
Roger Ebert loved horny little devils. I mean, it's Jack Nicholson. Look at him here. I mean, he's an odd-looking man, but he has that devilish attraction to him.
Does he?
Doesn't he? Like, he is charismatic. Like, you are drawn. He's such
Oh,
a...
I am rock hard right now.
He's an
We all
interesting
are.
guy, though. Like, I look
He's
at him.
interesting.
He's got an interesting past.
I'd want to be his friend, but not really good friends.
I would want to be his best friend. He seems like he would take you out
Oh,
of
do,
that.
do you mean Jack Nicholson with his character?
Both.
Okay.
Daryl would
Nicholson,
be a
maybe.
great friend, I reckon.
As long as you were definitely on side with him and he didn't start, trying to.
You
become
didn't
your
question the
friend.
ponytail.
I like the ponytail.
Don't make eye contact with the ponytail. You
Cher,
turn to stone.
Cher's whole monologue here is the best. I love that she's just like completely disgusted. She had some really great lines in that monologue. Like she just has some really well delivered lines. And again, Cher, what an actress! I mean, people doubted her ability as an actress when she first started because she's a singer.
Not me.
And,
Here we go.
Oh yeah.
Hey.
You know what makes the line? It's him wiggling his foot. That's
Yeah.
what makes the line work. But yeah, Cher. People underestimated her because she was a singer, but then her first movie, Oscar nominated. So
Oscar won, I think that one.
one?
The Moonstruck, I think.
No, it was Under the Silkwood with Meryl Streep. Was one of her
Well,
first
when she
films.
did Moonstruck, that's
Then
when
she won. Yeah.
Is there a more modern equivalent of someone who was, a musician and then decided to go down this path and was like reasonably well off and successful?
Marky Wahlberg.
Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch.
You don't want to admit it, but it's true.
It's just a good vibe.
Big fan of Mark Wahlberg. I've said this on various podcasts before. My dad is a huge fan of Mark Wahlberg. Dad's
He
about,
must love Max Payne because we've covered that on the show.
Dad, he's weird because I can't remember. He came across Mark Wahlberg, I think, in one of his Transformers movies, maybe. I'm not sure how Dad.
Wow,
came-
really late.
Pain and Gain.
Transformers 4, wasn't it?
Really late in the game, like last 5 years.
Yeah, that's when he's only become vocal about it. Maybe
Oh
he was
my
aware.
god, he must have
He's
seen
been a
that scene
closeted
where-
Wahlberg fan for
He
a
must
while.
have seen that scene where Mark Wahlberg is like in this total apocalyptic trash land, and he walks up to this guy who's crashed their car, and he just grabs a Bud Light beer and cracks it on their
Yeah.
car door. It's like, "What's up, pal?"
hey, I'm an inventor.
And Dad,
bees.
he got to Googling, found out about his rap career, and then found out that Mark Wahlberg, prior to becoming an actor, not a good guy. And
No,
it was
terrible man.
horrible person. I think he killed a guy.
No, you're thinking Matthew Broderick now.
And no, didn't he borderline. I think the guy ended up dying. The guy that he beat up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Mark Wahlberg's not the greatest guy.
no,
in the
not
world.
a great guy.
I didn't know this actually.
He's a good Catholic boy. He
He
spoke
was
for the
a-
Pope one time.
Horrifically racist, and I don't know.
Hence, he's in the Transformers movies.
and and Dad really liked that he turned his life around.
Yeah, he became a good Catholic Boston boy.
Yeah, he's a really good guy now.
So back to Andy Kaufman.
Oh yeah, so my
and Jim Carrey's
my
method
my
acting.
method actor thing. So yeah, so Andy Kaufman had a daughter, and he never spoke to her. I think only was around for the early years of her life, but then
Yeah, he died.
What a troll.
Then died.
Well, that's the thing. He died, and people think it's a joke.
Yeah,
Still,
they
because
reckon
he
he's
was
going
at
to come.
level-
He's going to come back and do a.
It's me.
Anyway, so in this doco, Jim Carrey, who's method acting as Andy Kaufman, goes into his trailer one day, and Andy Kaufman's real daughter is in the trailer waiting for him, and then they have like a 2-hour conversation. Jim Carrey as Andy Kaufman patching things up with the daughter, and I think that's too far.
Yeah.
Well, I think.
I mean, if it's the closure the daughter needs, it's the closure the daughter needs.
That's what I think. It was probably on her to be like, "This is a bit fucked up for me, Jim," because I think it could have been potentially very therapeutic.
Yeah.
No, look, you got to consider Jack Nicholson, who we were
I
talking
mean,
about.
that's not as bad as Jared Leto sending used condoms to the cast of Suicide Squad, but...
What about when Shia LaBeouf knocked out Tom Hardy on the set of Lawless because they were having a method acting fight?
Or Shia LaBeouf in Fury not showering all of production because his character wouldn't have had a shower.
I mean, Fury is good though, so...
I don't mind that for Fury, but I feel like Shia has a lot of other issues anyway. So
I like
feel
Shia. Leave him alone.
No, I also like Shia. I think
Hence we put him in our movie on your show. We're like, let's have Shia in there for
I
good
think
measure.
all of his art scene work is very interesting, and I find it very...
Just do it.
It's very strange. So I like him in that aspect.
Now, this is strange. This whole subplot in the movie is... I really want to get your opinion on this, guys, because this is a weird thing to put in the movie. Because think about this. If this was a different movie, she would be the hero. Because she's the one that figures out what's going on.
She's called it from the get-go.
She's kind of like a Stephen King character in terms of like... in Stephen King movies, at least, you always have that one character who's a good person who figures it out and then they get brutally killed. So you have... Scatman Crothers in The Shining. You have the sheriff in Misery. You know, they always have these kind of characters. She's kind of like honestly, if this was just a story of its own, like her story here, it would be a Stephen King short story.
If they redid the film from her point of view, she gets fucked over every which way, except for getting fucked over by Jack Nicholson.
Or by Richard Jenkins. Because she's like, I'm not against a good fuck, but we haven't had one in a while. I was like, oh,
And
okay.
Jack Nicholson seems to be for being either on top or bottom, so fucked under.
He doesn't mind. He just does. He just wants
does
it.
it any which way you can do.
But okay, so you guys unfamiliar, not knowing where this story was going to go. What did you think the movie was going to be about, and what did you think you got from it? Because I'm just been sitting here talking about what I'm interpreting, and you're like, oh, I didn't even really think about that. That's kind of there. It's like, what did you think was going to happen?
So I think I probably anticipated it going a similar way to how it ended up being, because it's very classic of like, stranger comes to town, everyone likes a stranger, turns out stranger not a good person. I think that's like one of the 7 storylines or something. It would be very prototypical of a lot of stories. Probably at the end, the whole the devil thing is very a bit, or like when he sort of comes back as a giant, that's a bit strange to me. I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
That was weird. But I think for the rest of it, it followed a very a very extraordinary, I guess, basic story. But to me, in that regard, like obviously once you sprinkle on the fact witches and like family and stuff and those other the specifics, but it's got in the rest of it.
The story's very simple, but it's the execution.
Yeah, that's it.
And also they get you with the title. They've got the word witches in the title, so you already know what you're in for.
So your expectation.
You're expecting some supernatural stuff.
Okay. What about you, Bartek?
Because if it was just called like the Ladies of Eastwick, and it was the same film.
The Widows of Eastwick. That would be a good sequel name.
The Divorcees.
The Divorcees of Eastwick.
The Housewives of Eastwick.
The Desperate Housewives of Eastwick.
What were the 3 Ds? Deserted, divorced, and death?
Yeah, that's it. Or National Lampoon's Daryl's Vacation.
Daryl's Vacation.
Bartek, what
Witches
about you?
of Eastwick 2, Electric Boogaloo.
What were you expecting from this and in comparison to what you got?
Well, I know that when the film started, obviously I had that title, Witches of Eastwick, in my head, and I wanted to focus on what the lore was going to be, I guess, because they did establish in that speech scene, which we talked over, that they had
talked over every scene, I feel
Yeah,
like.
I know, yeah.
We're talking about him now.
That's what happens when you have 4 people.
Take that.
Yeah, they established the whole thing of like they were having the same thoughts and things were happening, so I thought that there was going to be a lot more building on like how the witches thing works. But they kind of just jump back into, oh yeah, these are witches every now and then.
They really gloss over it, don't they?
Yeah, a little bit. Which, you know what? the points for subtlety.
Yeah.
A film these days would focus probably too much on that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's been 31 years since this film was made. We will not get another film like this, I don't think.
No, if this film was made today, you would have Vincent D'Onofrio turn up to tell you what the supernatural backstory is. He'll be like, "Hey guys, it's me, Vincent D'Onofrio, and I'm here to tell you."
Sinister. Is that what you're referring? Yeah, Sinister.
And Rings. He was in Rings last year.
Oh, I didn't see that
He
one.
was the Rings dad.
Okay.
No joke.
Ring's dad won.
What's her name? The girl in the ring? The one who died? The Ring girl.
The ring girl.
Ringu.
Samara?
Yeah, Samara.
Yeah.
He's her dad, apparently. But he turns up in movies to explain the backstory. And he'll be like, imagine this movie today. He'll be like, "Okay, so you guys are witches. The thing is, women are not..."
Why does your Vincent D'Onofrio impression sound like Gilbert Gottfried?
Have you heard Vincent?
Have you heard
Gilbert Gottfried?
I have. Gilbert Gottfried's a little bit more... Yep, Gilbert, he puts that voice on, of course, because...
Have you heard him reading 50 Shades of Grey?
Of course I have. And then he hit my clitoris. No. Vincent D'Onofrio would explain, "Okay, Susan."
Sorry, in my head when you said that, I just... At the end, you went, "And then he hit my clitoris, Mr. Sheffield."
Him and Fran Drescher having kids would be a nightmare. And Wallace Shawn's
And
their
yet,
uncle.
it's the sitcom that I desperately need right now.
Nanny is coming back, apparently. So
Yes, it is.
Is it?
I've
So
heard
there you
that-
go.
well, I mean, it's another one of those things where it's widely reported, but I don't think they've even entered any sort of pre-production yet.
But so they would explain it. There's subtlety in this movie, and that comes from George Miller. Because let's think about this. George Miller directed this, and George Miller is all about leaving things very open. You're thinking about
Yeah.
Mad Max.
So yeah, just to get George Miller's timeline. So he's done the first 3 Mad Maxes
Yep.
before he's done this.
Yep.
And then he'll do this, get fucked over by Hollywood.
And then do another Hollywood movie called Lorenzo's Oil, which
That's
is critically acclaimed.
That's right. And then he comes back to Australia,
Babe.
does Babe.
The second one,
The second one, Happy Feet. And then,
Happy Feet 2, and then Mad Max
and
Fury
then Mad
Road.
Max Fury Road.
He hasn't directed too many movies overall.
No.
In comparison.
You know what I like about George Miller, though? Is not only is he a director, he's also a doctor of medicine.
Yeah, that
It's
comes
just
into
nice
the
to have
Mad-
it's just nice to have a trade to fall back on.
Yeah, and that falls into the Mad Max movies because of his knowledge of injuries and
Yeah.
stuff. So that's why they're extra gruesome. But think about the Mad Max movies. They're not cohesive films. Like, they're very open and broad, and that's kind of what people loved about Mad Max Fury Road, was it was surprisingly simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because we have all these blockbusters now in which you have to have,
5 movies in
how
there.
did this woman become the wicked blah blah blah, and like, why is it Vincent? Well, it's like this. You know? And, you have to have scroll at the start of it. Like, everything is really complicated in these blockbusters, and then you have the ones that they are surprisingly simple, and they're not very good, but they're not good either. So it's kind of weird that you have a surprisingly simple movie like Mad Max Fury Road that's also good for a blockbuster.
Yeah, true. Everything feels like nowadays it's got to build onto some sort of franchise in order to compete with everything else.
And that's the thing. He had to do a Hollywood movie, but he likes to leave things open and bare and up for interpretation. And he's a visual storyteller. Think about the Mad Max movies. They're basically silent movies. There's not many iconic lines of dialogue, but it's mainly visuals. And here he is straddled with this script and this complicated story, but he still chooses this artistic choice of leaving things subtle and up to interpretation. It's like, you don't need to see this. You don't need to be told that. You kind of interpret it. Like Jack Nicholson tells a here about like how witches used to be burnt at the stake and they're actually midwives, and men are always oppressing women and pushing them down into their abilities. And I think that kind of ties into the fact that he's kind of, helping them cultivate their abilities, through love and affection and putting them on a pedestal. And that kind of makes their powers stronger as the movie goes along. Kind of like, I wonder, do all women have magic in this universe? Because then you have the woman in town. She's magical too, because she can sense these things. It just makes you go, is every woman
In this
inherently
world,
a creature of nature? That's what he calls it.
If they have one of the 3Ds, maybe.
Yeah, is that a pun? But no,
Do they
the
need-
woman in town doesn't have that either. Like
some
the-
level of trauma, though.
You're talking about the crazy one, right?
Yeah, she doesn't have the 3Ds, the desertion, divorce, or death. She's married and happily married. They're very happily married, those
Sorry,
two.
remind me, does she have any powers? in
Yeah,
this
she
one?
can sense what's happening.
Oh, the sense, yeah.
She
and
has...
she can vomit cherries.
Well, that's a curse happening to her. She's not choosing that.
I consider it a superpower.
It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Cherry Man.
Oh, man. they apparently had an animatronic version of her throwing it up that was surprisingly realistic and terrifying, and it was apparently too much for them to put in the movie.
Oh, okay. So I was gonna say, I didn't notice it at all.
No, it was cut, but it's really upsetting because practical effects are the greatest.
They're great.
And but
it's funny. The animatronic version of her is just an alien throwing up cherry pips.
The xenomorph.
It's just a leftover from the thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is an interesting movie because simple story, but weird execution because you're on purposely left without answers to things. You like, it's kind of weird because they on purposely let you know Jack Nicholson's very evil, but he's not really doing too many evil things.
It's like he could be a lot worse.
Oh yeah, he could be.
Oh, he could have done some much so.
He could be so much worse, but he's actually an alright guy. I mean, he teaches about music. I love this.
This scene this part here, right now, it was a bit weird to me.
But then it pays off and it works. Because you think, is he being gross? But then, puts the cello there.
And if I had have flicked it off at that second, I would have had very negative ideas about this movie. Well,
yeah, but
it's suggestive, obviously.
Well, of course. Were you aroused watching this, guys?
No.
The film, I mean, not this scene.
Only anytime Richard Jenkins or Jack Nicholson were on screen.
Not personally.
Wow, really? Not when all three of them were on the bed and he just walks in like, this is me, this is my life, I get all three. How fucking dare you? Coming here, saying Michelle Pfeiffer ain't a babe? How dare you?
Sitting on the couch, I think my family was in the other room. It was last night.
Oh, you're telling me you've never been in another room aroused while your family's somewhere else? You're crazy.
You say not last night.
Fucking liar.
My family's in the other room right now. I'm aroused now, yes. That's because you're flicking it. Like, it's just relax, and last night that was not the case.
This is why Ryan moved away from home.
Yeah, so I can be aroused in every room. I don't know. I think this is one of these weird ones because it's like, what is this genre of movie? It's definitely got eroticism in there because it is an arousing movie.
Erotic supernatural comedy.
You grew up with it. Were you aroused growing up by this film?
Yeah, little Ryan.
Ryan's a little hot under the collar.
Little Ryan liked this movie a lot. I found Susan the most attractive growing up, but I think she's still the most attractive in this movie, even though I think Michelle Pfeiffer's the babiest of them all. But she's kind of on purposely, I think, played to be a little bit less sexy than she usually is in movies, because we've done Grease 2 on the show, and never knew that I would have a sexual awakening over her getting on a ladder, but apparently I do.
I wanted what I wouldn't give to be that ladder.
I said that, yeah.
I think you did.
I think she straddles the ladder. It's pretty great. But Susan Sarandon's obviously the one I think who's the babiest one, because of the most babe one, because she's played plain Jane. Her name's Jane. As a character, and then she becomes like this, really overtly sexual woman with big poofy hair. Things are bad when the hair gets poofy.
Yeah. That's the easiest way to show there's been a shift in personality.
Oh, big poofy hair.
Oh, yeah.
They start conditioning, the hair gets more volume and body.
Does that mean Cher's really evil from the beginning?
No,
she's got a lot of volume.
It's just more of a fun personality from the get-go. Well, she does. You've got a bit of sass up to
She's sassy. She's Cher. She's so sassy, she's only got one name.
And that's purely because...
Are you saying that Jesus was sassy?
Well, he was Jesus.
Could have been sassier, I suppose.
He had more than just one name. He was Jesus of Nazareth, so he had two things going on. But she's just Cher of Sonny.
Jesus was a pretender. He wasn't born in Nazareth.
Oh, I thought you were just going to keep quoting the Pretender song by the Foo Fighters, but I'm sorry. Bartek doesn't have a taste in music.
This looks like a really great place to ride a bike.
It really is.
I want to comment on the town, actually. I thought that the
Eastwick?
Yeah,
it has a name.
Makes sense. Don't know why I decided to not name that. But
did he think that it was a wick of a candle just pointed east?
I thought it's a really beautiful little town. Like the opening scene where you get sort of that drone or helicopter footage as it starts to come in.
Drone,
I know.
In the 80s.
As I said it, I'm like, you idiot. But I really like it. Like, it's nice and open. It's like Anytown, USA type stuff. Like, it's very quaint. I really like that. I couldn't live there personally, but, it'd be nice to go and unwind there.
The trivia...
You could be Daryl.
I could be Daryl. Daryl it up.
You were going to say, Bartek?
The trivia talked about the scouting for finding the town. They said that I can't remember who it was, but one of the
Sam
crew-
Mercer.
Sorry.
Sam Mercer. He's been a producer on lots of things.
All right, yeah. The producer scouted 2,000 American towns, and he had to find a
One
town
with a white church
and a town and town square that's attached to the church or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was what he was looking for. And I think he settled on one thing, but then the church in that town was like, "Oh, do we really want to do this film?" So he went to a different town.
Films, man, they're hard to make. George Miller had a hard time making that. You know what's really weird? He doesn't have any Australians in this. Usually he likes to chuck a couple in.
Maybe we just didn't realize. Maybe
Yeah, Jack, right?
very, very far back, he has some Australian heritage to
It's
him.
me, Jack.
G'day.
Nicholson Thompson.
Nicholson Thompson.
I'm sure that when they were together, he called him Jacko or something.
Jackie boy. G'day, mate. G'day, Jack.
That's how George spoke, yeah. Yeah, Jack Nicholson.
Mel Gibson's crazy enough that he could play the.
Oh,
Cal?
yeah. He could have easy, but he didn't, which is a tragedy. I would have loved it if he did.
Would you have loved it as much, though, is the thing?
It would be different.
Keep in mind, you've already said that no one could do it better than Jack.
But Mel Gibson has a wickedness to him, especially back then, but no, it wouldn't be as good as Jack Nicholson.
No.
I mean, no, come on.
Come on, don't make me...
But then you'd have to go, what Mel Gibson movie would Jack Nicholson do in his place? So, what
Braveheart.
What women want? What Braveheart?
Put the two together. What Braveheart want?
Hey guys, it's me. I'm Scottish. He doesn't even do the accent. And John Peters is there. And John Peters is like, hey man, this Saving Private Ryan movie came out a little while back. Let's put some World War II soldiers in the movie. He's crazy. He's my hero. So this is an iconic sequence here in which they play tennis. Don't you love when tennis is played in movies?
Especially, or what?
Yeah.
Is it your preferred movie-based film? Movie-based sport, sorry?
Well, it seems more fun, right? When you have it in a movie.
I was thinking that I don't have friends that I could go and have a hit.
You don't have friends.
I don't have friends that I could go have a hit of tennis with.
You're that Lockley? You're not allowed to play tennis with him, okay?
Oh, yeah, that's a tragedy.
You're not friends. They're just co-hosts.
We're acquaintances.
We're colleagues.
We don't get on. We don't play tennis.
So what I really need to do is find myself 3 lovers who would be keen to go play.
Well, love is a term used in tennis.
Oh, maybe
Yeah,
that's
that's
why. Maybe it started with you could only play with people who were...
But it's a thing that you don't want in tennis.
But there's also, deuce is a term in tennis, so do you have to find lovers that are shit at
No,
tennis?
you can only play with Rob Schneider. Deuce Bigelow, European Gigolo, my favorite movie.
Your favourite movie starring Jack Nicholson.
Imagine.
Jack Nicholson as Juice Bigelow, the male gigolo.
I would watch that. He'd actually be good. It'd actually be a great movie.
It'd
Could you
be
imagine
different. It'd be different.
that? It would be good. That's the difference.
Good different.
Hey guys, it's me, Jack Nicholson, and Adam Sandler's there too. Still, it's just
I like this part.
Wow.
The little rapid volleying back and forth. That's just fun.
I like the bit where they get so playful. Michelle Pfeiffer's like, "I'll bounce it off my butt," because why not? Why not?
I want to say that at the Australian Open.
Does Michelle Pfeiffer look like a woman who's had 6 kids to you?
No.
Are you sure? Because fun fact, she didn't have 6 kids at this point. Nor does she now. I just wanted to let you know that you're correct. She doesn't look like she had 6 kids.
But I
didn't
wanted you to be...
I didn't think that was weird that there was never any hint that it's like the witch thing is a hereditary thing, because there's no hint at least the daughters.
Yeah, you remember Cher has a daughter that we see in the first scene and we never really see
her
her
It's the
again.
first line, right?
She's a real
Yeah, she has
nerd.
the first line of the movie, I'm pretty sure, where she's like, Mom!
She's not cool enough to be Cher's daughter in the rest of the movie.
Her line was my indication that I should turn the volume up.
Yeah, you should. You don't have to come if you don't want, and then it's like, yeah, all right, cool.
Very
You don't have to come for the rest of the movie if you don't want. Okay,
I mean,
I'm out.
I'll come on Jack Nicholson, but like, whatever. I like the makeup here where Jack has the scratch on his face, which is like him and Susan Sarandon had wild sex because he got scratched on the face.
God, that would be just the worst.
What, hitting the ball so hard a storm happens, or having sex with Susan Sarandon?
The scratch
because
on the face. Just because any injury is not
well,
necessarily
if it's
fun.
from Susan Sarandon fucking you, would you mind as much? I mean, she was Janet in Rocky Horror. Come on.
Damn it, Janet.
Damn it, Janet.
It'd be a story.
Okay, let's not press Nick. Let's not press Nick too hard. He doesn't like getting aroused in rooms where his parents are nearby.
In buildings,
My
right?
parents are sitting in the room next door right now as we record.
It's weird. It's
Why did
really
you
weird
bring
because
them?
it's like they
You brought
already.
your dog and your parents.
It's really weird because I invited them before I invited you. It's
Because they do
really
their own.
odd.
They do their own podcast.
Yeah.
What's their podcast?
It's called Pitch Her This Podcast, in which your dad pitches to your mum an idea.
Yep. And I sort of stole their idea and then took it to radio.
It was hereditary, actually. You just kind of naturally had your
genetic.
own podcast.
Everyone in the fan line does a pitch this based podcast.
Yeah. I, you know what?
They were pitching each other fruit ideas. They'll be like, imagine a banana crossed with a watermelon.
What would that be called?
Water banana.
Banana melon.
Banamelon.
Banana. What about? Okay.
A carrot crossed with broccoli.
Broccoli carrot.
Crockley.
I like how
Carolee.
no matter what you pitch Nick,
It's just the first word and the second word, but smushed together.
And not even partially.
not even partially, it'll be like, oh, what happens if you had a pineapple and a carrot? Pine carrot. Like, obviously. What happens if you had a
Actually, it'd be a
zucchini?
carrot apple, you idiot.
What would happen if you had
Potato and peas.
potatoes? You know, like, Jesus. No, but he wouldn't be that smart. He would be like, pea potatoes, because he has to have one word as the
Potato
other.
peas, you
Potato
fool.
peas.
Potato peas.
These are all potential ratings you can give it to
Oranges
the episode.
and cucumbers.
Okay.
Orange cumbers.
No, Benedict Cumberbatch. We already got it. Come on.
Benedict Cumberorange.
Cumberage.
Cumberbatch.
Pumpkin and cauliflower.
So with this movie,
That's just a pumpkin.
Okay.
That's
Wait.
already a hybrid fruit of a cauliflower.
I chose this movie for you guys because this feels like, because I grew up with this. This feels like a movie you guys would create on your podcast.
Does
It's
it
like,
really?
Does it?
Thank you.
Think about this. Okay.
So if we pulled out the genre of erotic supernatural comedy.
No. You would pull out
Which is in the hat.
Supernatural,
Yeah.
and then you would have location Eastwick, and then title. No. You have title. You have to have witches in it. You have to have the
No.
you have to
Location
have
of a mansion?
No, I feel like
location of a mansion, obviously of a mansion or Eastwick. You have
Yeah, it would be the
witches.
genre supernatural, the location of a church or a mansion, and then the word would be Eastwick.
And then
Not
and
of?
then no,
No,
I
because
thought
remember,
witches would be
no,
the
'cause
most
remember,
common.
that's what I was saying, witches. But then no Eastwick.
well, no, you'd get that from the supernatural.
And then this is what you would pitch, and you're like, yeah, get George Miller on board. Like if you had this show in the 80s,
Which we did.
like yeah,
Well, I inherited it from my
because
parents.
doesn't it feel like it has a lot of weird stuff in there? It feels like someone pitched this, and they're like, sure, why not? Let's do it.
Did we make this movie?
Did we write the 1984 novel?
John Updike, are you here?
Wait,
Are we time travelers?
are we? Maybe we should talk
So,
about this off
which
Didn't
pod.
someone say I was a time traveler in this episode?
Yeah, me. It was me because you
You
know
are
the
from
name
the-
of the episode already.
We're from the past, though.
right.
You're from
It's
the
really
future.
weird because these guys made this scene happen in which they're like, this erotic comedy movie, let's have them run around in balloons.
You know what I found a strange addition is the. I don't have a problem with
Children, you can say them.
with children.
They're in the movie.
but they seem to be like very quickly forgotten. I thought they were going to be more of a staple to family life than it does end up playing a part in.
Oh, okay.
Considering that they're all single mothers.
Yeah, I would have thought. I just thought that was going to be a bit more.
Prominent?
Yeah,
Just a
that's what
few
I thought.
scenes with Jack Nicholson playing a stepdad.
Well, I had a role in the reason why they're not prominent. I went back in time and I told George Miller, look, we just did a film on our podcast called Kidnap. It's really centered around a kid. Can you not have kids in yours, please?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Also, I think the idea of them not being in the movie prominently is kind of highlighting that they're becoming terrible people. They're abandoning their family,
That is
their
true.
jobs, their passions to be in this sick world with Jack Nicholson.
It's like
But-
four-way.
And even saying that, I feel like, a way of possibly highlighting that would have been to at least have a scene in which you start to see that she's becoming a worse mother.
Which
But,
one?
Which
Any of them.
Any-
Cher or Michelle? Because Susan
yeah,
doesn't have
Susan-
kids.
probably
She can't
more
have them.
Michelle. Probably more Michelle.
Yeah, she has 5 kids,
yeah,
6 kids.
6
One of
kids.
them's eating the other one
Yeah.
because they just got no food.
And they all get another one
As
at the end.
Michelle Pfeiffer just said before, I get pregnant all the time. I could get pregnant from your toothbrush.
And
That's a great line.
which she might have done. We don't know how the whole scene took place. And,
Yeah, that's the one where they cut away. They're like, oh, we don't, you know what? They made out.
They did some stuff.
You know that they had sex. We don't need to show this.
And but yeah, I thought it was strange that they didn't. But you're right in saying that it does show the degradation into becoming worse people, and then the fact that maybe we would have seen a scene where the kids are not having a great time. Just it's the subtlety that you spoke about with George Miller.
I think it would have been great if she had burdened her kids onto Richard Jenkins. So then Jenkins has his insane wife and these kids to deal with. So when he does, spoiler alert, kill his own wife, you can kind of understand even a little bit more why he's so wound up.
So again, if you redid this film from the perspective of Richard Jenkins, you just find
of the wife.
of the wife. Okay, so
Felicia.
So she ends up in hospital. Her husband's about to kill her, and he adopts 7 children.
6. Oh yeah, no. Shares is old enough to look after herself. She's graduating high school.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
She's 17. So she can look after herself. That's why Shares one is okay, because you already get that feeling that
She's already
they've got
her own-
autonomy.
yeah.
But Michelle's one, I do agree. It's what happened to them? I guess they raised themselves as 8-year-old children, and younger.
And they're around. They're there.
And they're very blonde.
God, they are.
They don't like zucchini.
Jelly. Zucchini jelly, which sounds awful to me.
Oh.
I don't want zucchini jelly.
Or as Nick
on
would
me.
call it, gelzuini.
That's exactly what I would have called it.
Gelzini.
Or Zucchini.
Don't you like how he embroidered their names on their robes, on their little dressing gowns?
Nice touch. Very considerate. I do that for my house guests
But
as
it
well.
shows how obsessive he is. How he wants to own these women.
See, that's the
it's a
scene I
little-
wanted to see. Jack Nicholson at a sewing machine.
You do get Jack Nicholson
I
doing
think he would have
domesticity.
got
though.
Fidel to do it.
Yeah,
He
I
would
was
have got
thinking that.
no, because but he does say he's all thumbs with clothes later in the movie, because he's ironing and cleaning his own clothes.
True. The embroidery
Jack
wasn't
Nicholson,
good, though.
and then you're like, Fidel, he's all thumbs with this kind of thing. And I do love Jack Nicholson's line of, "You're right, this is a small town, no Orientals to clean my clothes, and Fidel's all thumbs with these things." I'm like, ooh, he's really a bad guy.
Uh-oh.
The late 80s.
What, church?
A simpler time.
Where you went to church and the priest was really high up? Look how high up he is. Calm down, guy. We can see
He's
you.
got an oxygen mask
No,
on.
you can't, Ryan. He's not in the frame.
He's no longer in the frame. He's gone. He's actually as soon as the
cut,
camera
though.
went down, I've acted in film and TV as well. When you do have that thing of, at least I do, when the camera is no longer near you, you just stop. You just go whatever. Okay, and then make sure when it's coming back near you, you're doing whatever you were before. So I can imagine this priest guy being like, no, the camera's gone. Oh great, just sitting down having a cigarette. Okay, great.
He refused to come to set unless it was so high up.
Yeah, exactly. He was like, I'm a high level priest.
His altar has
Literally.
Yeah, you know what's really weird? This movie thing makes you think these people who antagonize their lives, Felicia and the principal of the school, they're going to suffer consequences. She gets insane and she vomits and she gets murdered by her own husband. Principal guy, he just gets a bit of vomit on him. He's fine.
Yeah, things could be worse for him.
Yeah, he was set up.
And he was even worse than
but there's
Felicia
no-
was,
but-
because Felicia, you meet her, she's actually a really nice lady.
But there's no one in the town to clean his clothes.
Oh yeah, exactly, because there's no Orientals.
Exactly.
He doesn't have a Fidel.
You know what's my favorite little touch in this? There's a lot of little touches. Jack
Yeah,
Nicholson-
there's many a touch from Jack Nicholson.
Well, no, the principal
Poor
grabbed
Jack.
an ass.
Jack Nicholson gets voodoo dolled later on, and he gets he's buying ice cream, and he punches through the glass
Yeah.
and puts his hand in the ice cream. I love. Cut to later. He's got ice cream. The guy still sold ice cream to him after all of that.
Smash, smash, smash. Now I'll have the pistachio.
Yeah,
Give
that's
me a
exactly
quart.
what happened. I love that little thing in movies like this, where you have that, oh, he's still got the ice cream though. I want to see that scene.
It's still business.
Well, the guy's like, well, you'll pay for my glass, right? And Jack's like, I'm a good guy. I'm all about the independent businessman.
Bought the store.
He bought the store, and now it's called Van Horn Ice Cream. Hey, was this in the 80s, but is Van Horn really that foreign of a name?
I suppose in a not backwards necessarily, but in a small,
insular-
isolated, American every town USA village, probably. When they would have the surnames then would have been Smith, Thompson, and
But they have Cher living in their town. They have a character whose name's Suki.
That's true. Suki's a
weird name.
what?
Especially for a white woman.
What are the origins of that? I wonder.
Well, Woody Allen had a Suki.
He did. Still. See, this is another one of the scenes where I looked at this and I was like, just well-kept lawns here.
Well, that shows how later on in the film, though, you have this ideal, pleasant village, and then Jack Nicholson comes along and the town is literally showered in garbage when he comes to the church. So it's kind of like a juxtaposition later on of like, hey, you remember when it was all clean and maintained and everything was happy and pristine? Jack Nicholson came to town
Guess
and
what?
everything's degraded and disgusting and ruined. Isn't that neat?
I'd like a nice a little town like that. I'd like it to be warmish.
You want to go to an Amish town?
You know what? I would enjoy living in an Amish town for a week.
You would?
Yeah, I think
Harrison Ford didn't like it in the film Witness.
I would enjoy it. I feel like I just have too much technology and I dislike it.
Do you like buttons on your clothes? Because the
hate it.
Amish don't.
Hate it.
So
Look at me now. I've got not a button on me.
That's true. He's not wearing any buttons. He's even wearing track pants.
Look at Lachlan, all buttons.
Lachlan is nothing but
I am
buttons.
currently wearing everything that I'm wearing at the moment. I'm sure that the Amish community would be all okay with, aside from the vulcanized rubber on the heels of my shoes.
Yeah.
But even then, I'm sure you could probably justify that to an extent.
I don't know. I don't know.
I'll tell you what.
Did they
Tell
make
Nick
that?
he doesn't realize he's wearing headphones.
Let's. No, the Amish are okay with that.
Yeah, they're okay with listening to music.
So these are the equivalent of like those cans that have a really long string in between.
Yeah.
So I've got one of them on each ear.
They're like, here's a can that was made from a machine, an electronic machine. Boo! And
Not okay.
and then they throw wooden cans at you.
Tell you, wooden cans.
Wooden cans.
Cups?
No,
It's still a can.
they're still cans.
What dictates it as a can? I would have thought it was the material.
No.
Sure.
Well, that's what role it is functioning as.
Well, a jar functions as the same as a can.
Yeah,
Could
but
you have
they're
a
different.
wooden jar?
So
You can have a wooden jar. What are you on about?
you can have a
Crazy.
wooden jar.
Yeah, why not?
Well, why can't you have a wooden can?
Because I'm not the one saying you can't have a wooden can.
Exactly right. Tell you what, let's
you
all go
were the
spend.
one- you were the one who's like, you can't have a wooden
Let's
can.
all spend a week in an Amish village, different ones, because I can't do this for a week. And then we'll reconvene, see where we're at, and look, we'll suss things out.
But
then.
guys, she's not wearing a bra. That's how this scene ends. It's
Neither
like,
am I.
she's not wearing a bra, but it's
Oh,
like,
Bartek. Oh.
isn't she? I think she.
You horny little W.
No.
What? No.
No! Bartek's a little devil.
And then I leave.
Little devil from Nothing But Trouble More Like.
I'm going to have pickles for dinner,
Sorry,
so
Steve.
this is a good scene. Look at all those different fruits we made up.
And look at all those wooden jars she's carrying.
Well, she's
Those
carrying
glass
Well,
cans.
she can carry glass glass jars, but not a wooden can. What? Did you know the original one of the original casting choices for Daryl Van Horn was Bill Murray?
Nope. I don't know. Can Bill Murray go as much of an asshole? Like, I know he can be.
He can be a real asshole, but I don't think he could have this
be
level of energy.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think he's a bit too apathetic in his performance. You know who would do a good job, and I know you'll be like, haha, very funny, but like Danny DeVito could do a good job because if you watch a movie like Ruthless People or another great film like Other People's Money, he can really drip with charisma and slime and evil, and he's really charismatic and kind of like, I know we look at Danny DeVito now as like this little goblin man, but like he can be really attractive when he wants to be for who he is.
I have not seen it, and I know, like, I'm sure once upon a time someone told him he was, but I've never seen a scene where I'm like, that's an attractive version of Danny DeVito. What, like, and I've never seen him as like positively charismatic.
Oh, Other People's Money is a great movie for that.
I've
Like,
not
he's
seen
slimy and an asshole, but he's wearing these lavish clothes, he's got his hair slicked in a way, and he's just like, yeah, Danny DeVito's just a fucking charming guy in this, but evil.
I reckon Michael Douglas could do a good job.
Oh, Michael Douglas is the king. He's such a king that he said that licking pussy gave him throat cancer. You know that, right?
I do
And-
now.
and you remember who his wife is?
Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Can you imagine saying that and then going home to Catherine and she's like, "So I gave you cancer, did I?" I was fucking in Zorro. Leave me alone.
I read the newspaper, and Michael,
You didn't paint me in a great light.
But you licked me in a good one. Oh, what? Too far?
in a
far
good
thing?
light.
Yeah, candlelight. What are you, an idiot?
It was a sunbeam on
If
a.
you're so close, you'll kind of be blocking the light.
Well, she's not down there herself.
What does she need
she's
the light
up
for?
It's my.
because she's enjoying the ambience of getting licked out
It's
by
not
Michael
really-
Douglas.
It's not really something you need light for.
Look, there's also I'm a big film aficionado, of course. There's
And a light aficionado,
There's
too.
well, this is kind of a little bit of references to Michael Douglas movie with him and Kathleen Turner, directed by Danny DeVito as well.
Sure.
War of the Roses, and they have a whole sequence in which they make love at a sunset, and she's like, "This is perfect lighting," and then he goes down and it dissolves to like the sun fully setting, and her moaning is like it's a comedy
To
movie.
him with Catherine Zeta-Jones being like, "So have you been up to it again?"
Catherine Zeta-Jones. She was too young to be in this movie, but could you imagine a remake of this movie now? Who would you cast as the three women?
That is a
Because that's a toughie. You'd have Scarlett Johansson, obviously. I mean, she's an obvious choice.
the blonde,
Or the redhead.
or no, as Fidel's character.
Wouldn't that be great? I would love for her not to speak. Because she's just got a monotone voice all the time.
Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
I reckon I could see, I don't want to butcher her name, Stephanie Burnett's, who plays Rosa Diaz from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Is
As Cher?
Yeah.
Of course.
I mean, she had the puffy hair, the overalls. I'm like, I can see Rosa doing that.
Yeah, Rosa.
Well, not Rosa, but Stephanie.
No, Rosa.
Burnett.
Rosa in this movie, she's like, "I'm not one for the devil."
Oh, she is very good, actually.
Grabs a knife out, like, "What do you want?"
Just from purely from like a physical standpoint, very similar looking as
Yeah.
well.
Is it weird that honestly you could still cast all three of these women and it would be great still today because they're all still very attractive now?
Yeah.
I
Let's
love
do
that.
it.
Let's do it. Michelle Pfeiffer, she's been on a
Get
streak.
Michelle on the horn.
She was in Ant-Man and the Wasp
She's
recently.
doing okay.
She's doing great. I would cast... I would want to cast a singer who's turned actress just for the continuity. Let's give Lady Gaga a shot.
It's the Gaga.
The Gaga.
Well, she's in that new Bradley Cooper film later this year, A Star Is Born.
Is she
they're
the
doing
star?
Yeah, they're remaking A Star Is Born.
With her.
With her.
I know she was in American Horror Story, and her first ever film was Machete Kills.
The timeless classic.
You've seen it?
It's
It's got Mel Gibson in it as the
Does
villain.
Machete Kills have a sequel?
No,
No,
Machete's
Machete
the
is
first
the
one.
first
Machete
one.
Kills is the sequel.
Yeah,
Machete
right.
has
I've
Lindsay
seen one of
Lohan,
them.
and Machete Kills has her in it. So Lady Gaga as a shape-shifting assassin. So she starts out as Cuba Gooding Jr. No, as Walton Goggins. Then someone sees his face, and like rips off the face, and then Cuba Gooding Jr. Then someone sees that, rips off the face, and Lady Gaga. Then rips off the face, Antonio Banderas. Like that's an actual plot point.
Antonio Banderas.
Let's cast him as Daryl.
You know, I caught on TV a couple of nights ago
Spy Kids.
the
huh?
back end of Shrek 2.
Oh, fucking classic.
Possibly, and
The best end of it too.
Well, yes, I was going to say possibly, and I think one of the best sequences in film history.
The Fairy Godmother.
Yep, where she starts singing, and then they're on top of the giant gingerbread man. Classic.
On top
Disagree with me. I dare someone.
of... Okay. Have you seen...
Oh yeah, I completely forgot about the giant gingerbread man in
want
Shrek 2.
His name's Mongo or something
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, she's I need a hero.
Yeah.
Now
It's
this
great.
is... now tell me guys what you were thinking during this sequence. Did this kind of gross you out a little? Because when I grew up watching this really did gross me out. Of like, what a sick idea this is of them eating the cherries and her vomiting them up.
Well, that's what got me the most, is the fact that, it's like, they have to be eating the cherries. No one eats this. No, who's eating the pips? Like, come on.
No, they're spitting them out and then she spits them out. When...
Oh, okay, that makes more sense. In my mind, it was like,
They're eating the
one
whole
in,
thing.
one out.
No, they're, like you see them when they're spitting them out in the sequence. She starts
makes
spitting
more
and
sense.
vomiting them
Yeah,
out
yeah, yeah.
too. So what did you think? She's fully crazy now too, but
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
she's lost it. God damn.
Bartek?
Yeah, I feel like if I grew up with this film, I would have been disgusted by it. I guess, but
Right now, though, not disgusted.
right now, yesterday, no,
Half
not
of the
really.
course.
More turned on, if anything.
No, I said
I went to the
I said
supermarket-
I wasn't aroused. Though.
got some cherries for himself and just sort of had a similar
He
experience.
was hoping it would happen to you too.
Yeah, little voodoo doll.
They're too calm.
For now. No, it worked, but not in the way you expected. You know, Nick couldn't get aroused. I mean,
Great. No, cherries are a great fruit, and they are an anti-aphrodisiac.
We specifically did not invite your family, though.
No, well,
Not in the other rooms.
we were always going to end up talking about fruit. What's your favourite berry?
No joke.
Blueberries.
I've been in a long-term relationship, and it's gotten to that point where my fiance looked over to me one day and said, "If you were a barrel, what would you have in you?" That's what we got to. That's where we're at.
practicing her vows.
That's where we're at.
Did you say a bunch of holes?
No, I didn't.
What did you say?
Well, we've got to know the answer now.
I said Kirk's lemonade, the finest of lemonades.
You'd be that in a barrel. Obviously you're a water.
A wooden barrel?
Or a glass barrel.
A wooden can.
A wooden barrel.
You can have a metal barrel, you know that, right?
A wooden can.
You can have a plastic barrel,
A wooden
too.
can is a barrel. I've just decided
A wooden can is a miniature
Well,
barrel.
no, well, yeah, that's the thing. It's size. It's
Yeah.
all about size. Because
No.
the barrel has to be a certain size, right?
Barrels can be small.
Yeah,
Have you ever played Barrel of Monkeys? That's a small barrel.
That is a small barrel, and it's designed to look
And
like
it's
a wooden
plastic,
barrel,
so it's
but it's
technically
plastic.
a cup.
But you
And
can
it
have
rhymes
plastic.
with Daryl.
But you can have plastic barrels. Have you watched Breaking
We're
Bad? He
leaving.
puts them in
We're
plastic
leaving.
barrels all the time.
They're tubs.
Fuck off their tubs.
They're a
Do
tub
you,
at best.
know what a tub is?
Do you know what a barrel is?
Tubs are not
why you have
that.
a bath.
Are you crazy?
Maybe.
Fucking thinks that's a tub. He thinks those are tubs. You're fucking
I'm
nuts.
staying out of this one.
Go eat some water bananas.
He's staying out of this because he's like, they're clearly cans.
It's clearly a plastic can.
Let me just crack open my plastic can. Hey, it could be a plastic can if it has a ring pull on it.
Plus, they would never.
Wouldn't they?
I don't think. I genuinely actually think that from a physical standpoint, I don't know if that would make sense to be able to have the ring pull aspect of the plastic.
So those people at home really wanting an in-depth discussion on the film Witches of Eastwick, welcome to the Is It a Can podcast.
The container podcast.
Bartek, if you're a barrel,
Oh,
what's
so you
in
think
you?
it is a container now? Oh, okay.
Well, I'm just generalizing it to all of them. They
Oh,
all contain
okay.
things.
No, the podcast is, this is the whole name of it. Everything we're saying right now, including this, that's the whole name.
a
It's like, is it a
long-
can? Is it a container?
It's a long file name, to be sure. Bartek, if you're a barrel, what's in you?
More barrels.
Oh, a barrel full
But
of
what's in
barrels.
that?
Barrel of barrels.
A barrel nesting doll.
Just a bunch of barrels.
Is it
A
babushka?
barrel babushka
A
doll.
Russian nesting barrel. Yes, correcto.
What are you, Nick?
I got blueberries in me.
Of course you do. You're blue ball in it. So, Lachlan, your barrel, what's in you?
And nicely aged scotch.
Oh,
But not.
of course
too-
he has to be the one with alcohol. Clear.
He's got problems. Don't worry.
He's got those major
Well,
problems.
my thing can't be ingested, so...
You could ingest a barrel.
if you get a small enough barrel.
If you're a
also known as a
weirdo.
thimble.
Yeah, but if you said a barrel and barrel, you could breathe in one of them if you really want.
I mean, I guess technically I've got barrels in me,
No,
so...
but Bartek's like, but Ryan, at a certain point, the size eventually becomes a can.
and then eventually a thimble, as I referenced seconds ago. And then what's
Well,
smaller
a
than
thimble
a thimble?
wouldn't work because
A contact
a thimble
lens.
isn't. A thimble's open, like it has an open area to it. It isn't
As
closed.
a-
It doesn't have a lid. It doesn't have the thing making it.
You'd want a lid on a barrel.
You don't have a lid on a thimble. What
If
are
a
you
barrel is-
crazy?
If a barrel,
He's like, let me just look up. Let me just.
I was just
look-
going to say you should really consider approaching Storage King after the show to get this episode sponsored.
let me look up my thimble.
you
Don't want
have
any
thimble
liquid
lids?
getting out.
Well, I'd hate for something to fall into the thimble. That way, when I put my pinky into it, it doesn't get in as far as it should.
Oh yeah. It's like, oh crap! I couldn't get my
no.
pinky in the thimble because I got my lid on.
That's where I put my keys, in the thimble.
what small keys you have.
What large thimbles I have.
Well, there you go. You can have a very large thimble if you want.
Turns out it was-
It's very Red Riding Hood right now.
Oh,
Grandma,
man.
what large thimbles
Well,
you have.
guys,
All the better to store my keys with, my dear.
Well, we've already covered the Amanda Seyfried Red Riding Hood on the show, so
Oh, yeah,
it didn't
that
have
was-
a thimble in it,
that
but
was-
it did have
that
Gary
was a-
Oldman.
That was a film.
It was a great film. It had Gary Oldman in it, Oscar-winning actor Gary Oldman.
and here's Fidel looking at us uncomfortably.
He always looks at you uncomfortably.
No, I'm usually relatively comfortable.
He's still alive now.
That's good. How old would he be?
Quite old.
What else has he been in?
What's his name? Carl what?
I can't pronounce his last name. It's
Yuck.
very
So
foreign
savoury
to me.
shit?
He's He's
Smith.
Lurch in the Addams Family movies.
Yeah, I can see
He's
that.
the giant in Twin Peaks.
Yes.
He's got some years
He's
behind
in
him.
Star Trek: The Next Generation.
And we're back to Star Trek.
And we come full circle.
Well, if you really want me to get full into Star Trek, I'm pretty sure Richard Jenkins
feel like
made
you
an
want to.
appearance.
I don't know, Bartek, do you really want him to go into Star Trek?
I mean, it's a show.
It is
And
that.
that's as far into it as you're going.
Well, it's a movie series as well. There's like 12 movies, so there you go.
That's not a show.
2 of them suck.
Which, no, it is
Which two?
You'll never know.
You know, the Abrams ones. Nah. There's lots more that suck. Trust me.
I don't mind.
You haven't seen
them.
Star Trek 5, the one that William Shatner said, "Hey, can I direct a movie in which we ask, can we look for God? And then we find God and we don't like him, so we shoot him with lasers." That's
Pretty
a movie.
standard.
That's a great movie. I mean, terribly great. Star Trek's such a crazy franchise. I don't know why people take it seriously, even myself sometimes, because Star Trek's like a franchise that said, hey, in the 4th movie, how about an alien species comes along with a super weapon that only whales can stop? But we don't have any whales in our timeline because they're extinct, so how about you guys travel back in time to steal a whale from an aquarium
Why not?
and play around in the 80s? And Spock, you have to wear a bandana because you've got ears that are pointing. And hey, Bones, how about you walk into a hospital and you see that they're giving this woman dialysis and you're like, that's fucking crazy, give her a pill. And then the doctor comes in later in the movie and it's like, lady, you have 2 kidneys now. You only had 1 before.
See, now this sounds like a film that we would come up with.
That is very
Every
true.
Star Trek film is a film
It
you
was
should
made,
come up with.
made by us on the podcast. Right now, to bring it back to the Witches of Eastwick,
Yep.
this is probably the turning point, I would say, for the
When
relationship. Yeah,
When they leave him.
when they're like, this is things are not going good, and there's a little bit of a yelly on the phone there.
Oh man, if you need someone to yell at you on the phone, it's Jack Nicholson.
Oh, well, that's true. I can't go to sleep without having him yell at me on the phone.
If you wanted to have a screaming match on the phone, Jack Nicholson versus who?
He knocks weird on the door. Just look how softly he knocks.
It's like he's punching it
Who would
downwards.
I have yelling at me?
No. So I'm saying like the ultimate screaming match on the phone.
Samuel Jackson.
Samuel
Samuel
Nicholson.
and Jack Nicholson for sure.
Jack Nicholson and Samuel L. Jackson.
You can't handle the truth, motherfucker! I am the Lord.
Happy birthday.
Adam Sandler doing Whitey.
Yeah, doing his character Whitey. Hey guys, it's me, Whitey.
No, that's
Which
just
again,
Peck.
that's still Gilbert Godfrey.
Okay,
Who
Gilbert
voiced a
God.
cartoon bird in the Math Chase cartoons as
You
well.
mean Cyber
Chase.
Cyber
Math
Chase,
Chase? Yeah.
which was also the villain was Christopher Lloyd.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Ah.
And also
No
Cyber
bullshit. I found the entire series of that on YouTube
And-
like 3 days ago.
And you know the only reason you would ever revisit
Why?
this TV show Cyber Chase is because it has a fucking thumping theme song. Cyber Chase,
moving,
hacker,
repeating
he's
hacker
at his game.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, no,
Cyber Chase. Bartek's like, I don't know what this Cyber Chase is. Okay.
No, I got stuck in one of those. You know when you're in a YouTube wormhole and it was like, oh, recommended for you, recommended
yeah,
for you.
yeah.
I got stuck in one of those like 90s Australian TV show nostalgia wormholes.
Yeah. Cyber Chase, gotta be a hacker at his game.
I lived. I've always lived with this problem of I always used to have
Not
flashbacks
being able to be aroused.
and no, I can do that like I can click. Sorry, I am aroused.
I can
now.
see why you're wearing tracky dacks.
With an iron guard on my crutch. But I always lived with this thing of I would always have flashbacks to this kids show that I thought I remembered from when I was younger,
Yeah.
and it was like plasticine animated. It was weird. It was set in space. The aliens were really strange looking, and I never knew what it was. And then this year, some website called Pedestrian brought out like the top 10 most fucked up kids shows from the 90s, and it was on the list. And I found it on YouTube, and it was disturbing.
What is it?
I've forgotten.
You fucker! You do this and you give us nothing. I was like, okay, plasticine. Could it be Rocky and the Dodos?
No. That
Is
was
it
good.
Gogs?
No, thank you for reminding me of Rocky and the Dodos, because that's also because they used to get the squid and they used to squeeze it into the shell, and
Yeah, and you wanted to drink it yourself, but
Yeah,
you never could
because it was ink from a squid.
or because it's fake.
That's also true.
This movie is 31 years old, but it feels like it's a very 80s movie. I will give it that, but I think that you could do this film today, and it would still work. but why isn't it held up in such high regard considering who's involved? I mean, you got three legendary actresses. You've got Jack Nicholson at probably one of the tops of, like, one of the moments of height of his career. You got George Miller directing. Like, why isn't this?
Well, I guess what came out in 1987?
That's a good question.
To be answered another day.
Well, it was this plasticine show about aliens that I won't remember the name of because fuck you. I don't know, but I don't know. I mean, this film's awesome, isn't it?
I mean, this one here, it's interesting. At the very least, it's incredibly unique. And I'll probably never watch it again.
You know why? Because Netflix on Australia removed it.
Difficult to watch it. I had to source it through other means.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he had to ask his parents for a copy of the DVD that they already had.
And they were like, we're trying to pitch bloody fruits, Nick. Get out of the room.
Where are you up to now, guys? We're having a hard time with passion fruit and kiwi fruit. Do we just call it passion kiwi or kiwi passion?
Quassion fruit.
No, you're not that. You're not that smart. That's like a Lachlan suggestion right there. Like you have to have the full name of one of the fruits in there.
Powie.
Quassion fruit is very.
I like Powie.
Powie fruit.
You need a Powie. That actually would be a great fruit to crossbreed together, by the way. Get a little bit of tang, a little bit of sweetness.
I'm sure it's the fruit that he will start cutting into in a moment, Jack Nicholson, to give Michelle Pfeiffer pain. I'm sure that's a Powie fruit.
It is Powie-esque.
Doesn't he look like Beethoven in this sequence?
The dog Beethoven. He's a large Saint Bernard.
He does look. If Jack Nicholson was a dog, he would be that kind of dog. Though.
You reckon he'd be a Saint Bernard?
Look at him.
In this
now and then. Are you fucking crazy? Of course he would be a Saint Bernard.
I don't know if I agree with that.
What do you think?
What kind of dog would Jack Nicholson be? Woof woof.
I can't. Let me have a quick think. See, how tall is Jack Nicholson?
Not incredibly
I
tall.
think he's like 5'8", 5'7".
I imagine him looking at, just because he's a bit.
Look at him here.
Bit scruffy, bit of a weirdo. I
Jack
imagine
Russell.
him as. Well, I was going to say whatever Fry's dog in Futurama is.
Wow.
Does that
you
hold
think
it?
of him as like this mutt.
Yeah.
Oh no, he's a Saint Bernard, buddy.
Do you think Jack Nicholson's purebred?
Of course. No, dude. He's as purebred as you can get. You don't know Jack Nicholson's family story?
No.
Fuck. Okay, no. This is serious. This is real. Jack Nicholson grew up for most of his life thinking that his parents were his parents, and his sister was his older sister. But in fact, his older sister was his mum. His grandfather was his father and mother were actually his grandparents, but also his grandfather's his father.
Okay, let's hang on.
So he's a
he
product
grew up
of incest?
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson's a product of incest.
Yeah. And if you look at him, you can actually kind of see it a little. Not to slag off the man. That's at least last thing that's at least what I remember of his.
Was it him
backstory.
who was Old Thumbs in the film?
No, that's Fidel.
Okay.
He's a giant too. No, yeah. So he's a purebred as you can get.
I knew that he grew up thinking his mum was his sister.
Yeah, I think it's.
And he thought the person he thought his mum was actually his grandmother.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that it was the grandfather did a little bit of incesty rape. I'm pretty sure. I might have to double check that.
I think double check that one because
I mean, look at him though.
Double check that before this gets released.
Nah, I'm gonna just tweet it. Be like, Jack Nicholson,
hold on.
product of incest.
If you
bit of polish breaks the news.
So commit incesty rape, and then the child gets an Oscar for every decade. Is that how it works?
Yeah.
It's a foolproof algorithm.
well, he didn't get any in the 2000s. Just
No,
There'll need to be
well,
more incidents before we can.
Do you know
make
that
a
though?
conclusion.
I'm pretty sure Bucket List got an Oscar nom and win. You just don't want to admit it.
No,
You don't want to admit that incest works.
If anything, he should have won for The Departed. If we're going for the 2000s.
I said Bucket List. That's my choice.
I'm sticking with it.
I'm fucking sticking with it. It has Morgan Freeman in it. What are you, racist?
Yeah, but The Departed has Marky Mark.
Oh, wow.
And
It's
Marky
Mark.
would never be racist.
Well, the film also has Martin Sheen in it, Charlie Sheen's dad.
Yeah.
And so, you know...
Saw an interview with
Alec Baldwin.
every movie with Alec Baldwin's an Oscar-nominated movie in my eyes. Beetlejuice, right up there.
This is the scene where I thought I was like, oh yeah, she has kids because I hadn't seen them for a while and I completely forgot they were around.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going in a different direction there. I went in this direction. Oh shit, he's internally fucking with her, like her body, and she's pregnant. She's gonna be the one that doesn't have kids because he fucked her physically, right? I thought that was gonna... I've seen this movie before.
Yeah, no.
I thought it was gonna go that way. It's like, oh, Susan Sarandon can't have kids, and Michelle Pfeiffer's always having kids. Wouldn't it be a dramatic twist that one of them that doesn't have kids has a kid, and then the one who always has kids can't have kids because he internally hurt her?
I mean, I suppose potentially, but I mean, I was just making an observation of what I saw on screen. I wasn't like too worried about
You weren't thinking.
I wasn't analysing it when I saw it, no.
George Miller wants you to analyse his movies.
George, leave
Remember,
me alone.
he's the biggest feminist filmmaker of 2015.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Remember when that happened, when Mad Max Fury Road came out, and everyone's like, it did divide people, because people were like, yeah, he's a feminist savior, and other people were like, these fucking feminazis ruining my Mad Max movies, and it's
How
just
dare
like,
they.
dude, did you ever watch a Mad Max movie? Like, I mean, yeah, they weren't great. I mean, they're great, but like, yeah, maybe it's good if you have a female character in them that isn't a villain for once. Wouldn't that be neat? I mean, Thunderdome. I mean, you got Tina Turner.
We don't need another hero.
We don't need another hero. I love Thunderdome.
You know, Ryan, in an episode that we did in 2015, you did say the phrase "fuck the patriarchy."
Fuck the patriarchy. Hashtag
How
fuck
do you
the patriarchy.
know? How do you have that?
Because it
as
was one of the first few episodes.
Oh, right.
Like,
It was on our film
Fifth one.
Sorority Boys, wasn't it?
No, it was Bend It Like Beckham, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, because Bend It Like Beckham said, fuck the patriarchy. We're all about women. And it
Jesus.
was.
Is that the tagline for the film?
No, the real tagline for the film was...
What a free
down,
kick.
No, down with the patriarchy... Boo.
Boo the patriarchy.
That's what I think we came up with something like that.
I think you made an image.
I
of
made
it.
an-
Bells, all
Ow.
thumbs. There we go.
That just leaves me, Jack Nicholson.
The character calling himself Jack Nicholson.
With his tongue sticking out.
Perpetually has his tongue touching his chest.
You know what's really weird? If Jack Nicholson existed in this universe...
Yeah.
Because David Letterman exists in this universe.
Yes.
So that means this is our universe. So wouldn't it be... I always think about that with some movies that are set in the real world. There are some movies that do that, where it's like, it's set in the real world, but then they will have a movie or something that act is
a crossover.
in.
Yeah.
Like in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, the wife is watching a movie with Kevin Bacon in it. But Kevin Bacon's in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles at the very beginning.
Is that I think.
But he's playing a
direct joke is-
different character.
Yeah.
But right, like, does it mean like Kevin Bacon exists in this universe? I love it when that happens.
Read that as the film itself was playing its own like shortcut to 7 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Well, but he's actually in the movie at the beginning, like Planes, Trains. So
the
it's like
shortest, if there was a weird way you were playing, I think that's in my mind. I was like, that's a fun game to play.
playing the Kevin Bacon. I mean, we haven't had a Kevin Bacon appearance on any episodes thus far. I don't think he's popped up his beautiful face in a movie we've covered yet.
Shocking.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I can't remember old Kevy Bacon, the hero of a nation. I like how he's come back in popularity over the last few years, like turning up in movies and actually being. He's actually a decent actor now.
I imagine that's why he got so many roles.
Well, no, it's because he was a pretty boy.
Well, he's not. I mean, he's that, and he's not bad.
Yeah, but he's always sleazy looking too. Like,
And there's nothing wrong with being a sleazy looking.
I think it's because Patrick Swayze died. No, seriously.
Recently,
No, like 10 years ago.
I know.
But like that's when his career started to come back.
Interesting. I guess I
That's
never
an
really...
interesting theory.
Because they always
I don't
competed,
support it at all, but it's an
because they
interesting
always
theory.
competed for the same roles.
I mean, I guess I was never in the casting room, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, they always competed for the same roles. I'm pretty sure there was Christopher Plummer had that too with another actor. I can't remember who it is.
Jack Nicholson.
Nah, they always competed for the same roles, and then one of them died, and now this guy's getting all the roles that guy's going to get.
What an unfortunate
His
world.
name was Kevin Spacey. Weird. Oh man, it's weird. Hollywood should have warned us that Kevin Spacey was a bad guy. Maybe they should have by having him be every villain in every movie that he's ever in all the time. It's like watch Usual Suspects. I love when there was a period of time where there was movies where it was a surprise that Kevin Spacey was the bad guy, like Usual Suspects. Like that's the twist.
Before we all
it's
realized
Kevin
who it was
Spacey's the
gonna
bad.
be, yeah.
but it's like, but even back then, in that period of time, he was considered to be a guy where it's a surprise that he's the bad guy. It's like, is it? Because I've always grown up with he's always evil or always mischievous or whatever. It's like, man, could you imagine being in the 80s here and seeing Jack Nicholson at the height. This is even before he even got big again with the Batman movie, which really revitalized his career beyond any measure, because that was one of the biggest, well, it still is one of the biggest movies ever. I mean, it's a big, I mean, if you didn't have Batman 89, you wouldn't have any of these superhero movies
superhero
now.
Revival wouldn't have come back.
You wouldn't have had any of them at all. I mean, you could say, oh, maybe those Christopher Reeve Superman movies, but no.
But they paved the way for the Batman 89, which even then paved the way for the X-Men films, which blew it up.
And the Spider-Man movie, too. Because, you they happened at the same time. There's X-Men and Spideys. Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Another movie affected by 9/11. Remember that?
Not really. I was very, very young.
You don't remember 9/11?
No.
I do. It interrupted Cheese TV, and I was really upset about that as a small child.
How did they cover it on Cheese TV?
No, they interrupted Cheese TV.
Oh, right. I thought you
for 9/11, and I was like, "What's this? I wouldn't even watch Dragon Ball Z."
Someone's playing didn't get there on time. Give me my cartoons.
Like, I was really young, so I was like, "I want to watch Dragon Ball Z. I want to know what's going to happen with Vegeta." And now I don't actually know what happened with Vegeta. I hope he's fine.
That's because they cut away from it.
You know, in Spider-Man, the first one, there's a whole sequence, and in the ads, too, of him going around the Twin Towers and whatever, and then they had to redo it because,
Yeah, right. No, I didn't know that. I mean, because I guess I
think one of the very early trailers is...
It was like a teaser or something.
Yeah, a teaser of...
That and Zoolander, they're the first couple of movies where they digitally edit out the Twin Towers.
Yeah, right.
Isn't that interesting?
That is very interesting.
We've covered many movies on the show where it's like they've been inadvertently affected by 9/11.
Well, it's just general world disasters. Is there many other world
disasters? No, I
that
mean like
affect them, or
behind the
specifically-
scenes stuff as well. Like Aaron Eckhart wanted to do a fun movie, so he did, because of 9/11 depressed him so much, so he did The Core, the movie that asked the question, does the Earth's core stop spinning? Can Stanley Tucci throw a bomb down there?
I haven't seen The Core, can he?
No, he gets killed, but Aaron Eckhart does it for him.
Oh, good. Well, that's good to know.
Oh man, Jack Nicholson's kissing people. It's pretty wild.
Not you though.
So did we ever find out what other films came out around 1987 to see?
That's a good question. I can look that. I'll look that up. How about you guys chat about your experiences? And Nick, you were saying to me before, and you had a lot of thoughts on this movie. You were like overwhelmed with thoughts. That made me think, did you not like the movie?
Well, I probably very neutral towards this film, I'd say. And I'm probably not going to rewatch it, but it's a classic case of if it's one of those things where if I come across it on TV and I'm literally doing nothing, I won't turn it off. And that probably comes down to like a very strong cast, and I guess it's very aesthetically pleasing. I think I like the mansion. Like you said, I like the town. I like a lot of what's happening in it. I do think it was a very interesting film to watch, with a lot of, I guess, the way that Nicholson's character talks about women to watch right now, considering the current climate in Hollywood. It's very
unsettling.
Yeah, it is a little bit, because like you would probably borderline. And I know that films are an art piece and they're different, but I think people would be very cautious to have similar dialogue pieces and stuff happening.
But at the same time, he is the villain.
Oh, and I get that.
Works.
And I think that's how the film justifies it in that regard, to be like, his behaviour is not good, and obviously that's the reason why this is completely fine and above board and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's still, like I said, unsettling to hear and see throughout.
That's true. So, some films, for context, that came out in 1987, and I'm going to list them in order of what they've got here, so you know how high-ranked Witches of Eastwick came up. You had Predator.
No, big.
You had The Lost Boys.
Big.
Joel Schumacher. You had Lethal Weapon.
Big.
Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Pretty big.
The Witches of Eastwick.
Huh.
RoboCop.
Big.
Adventures in Babysitting. A Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
I think it was probably...
And The Untouchables.
Hey!
Yeah, that's
An Oscar-winning movie. Sean
That's
Connery really deserved to win for his performance as an Irish policeman.
That's a pretty big year. And look, I'd say that's why it might have been forgotten amongst a lot of... Because there's a lot of cult classics in there.
Including Witches of Eastwick.
Do you consider Witches of Eastwick a cult classic?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I reckon.
Oh yeah. Because those ones that we listed are pop culture classics. You have Lethal Weapon, Predator. They're not
I
cult.
suppose pop culture versus
Lost Boys
yeah.
is more cult classic status,
Yeah.
considering its subject material and all that, and it's what made Joel Schumacher. Let's not forget that's a film directed by him. This movie's a cult classic. Oh, 100%. This screams cult stuff. I mean, it's the typical thing. You got this weird, dark subject matter. You got the devil, you got supernatural, you got eroticism. It's a failed big Hollywood movie of celebrities, and you got George Miller involved as well, who's a cult director in his own right. Even with Mad Max Fury Road, he's still a cult director. He's not like Mr. Spielberg or something.
Do we know how this one did financially, like at the box office?
Oh, I don't know. I imagine that
Well,
if
it
Roger Ebert gave it a thumbs up, then it must have done good.
Must have done okay. I mean, I'm sure all those movies you just listed as well, they all made their money back, I would imagine.
Maybe not The Adventures of Babysitting. I don't know that one.
Actually, I've never heard of that one, to be honest with you.
I've heard it's popular, but I've never seen it.
I've never heard of it. Is it as
Was
good as
I don't
Beverly
know.
Hills
I
as
haven't seen
Nightmare
it.
on Elm Street
3 or Beverly Hills Cop 2.
I'm actually gonna look up this Adventures of Babysitting. What the fuck?
Wasn't it
is
Adventures in Babysitting?
Oh, Adventures in Babysitting. Oh,
Adventures of Babysitting is a home movie that I made.
Okay, it's got actors I don't know. Oh, Vincent D'Onofrio's in it. I bet he explains the plot.
Is he really?
He's really in it, as is Anthony Rapp, the man who outed Kevin Spacey.
Interesting.
Weirdly enough. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, there's other people, but I don't know them very well, and I'm actually really good with knowing actors.
Here comes the voodoo doll scene.
Oh, this is a classic scene here. This is what
Really
you
big
want.
fan of the ball.
Oh, Bradley Whitford's in Adventures in Babysitting. Now that makes sense because Richard Jenkins was too busy in this. You got to have Bradley Whitford in the other
I questioned his move to punch through the glass and put his hand in the ice cream.
because he's
Yeah.
burning.
Was it? I didn't.
Because he's stabbing pain, burning sensation.
I
That's
number
why-
with cold.
I've never
With cold.
associated stabbing pain with burning.
Yeah, no.
I guess I've
Apparently
never
that's
been
one of the
stabbed.
symptoms.
Is it really?
Yeah, burning sensation.
I suppose you can numb anything with the cold, really.
Yeah, it's ice
But
cream.
it's like, are you going to cut your hand... You still got the ice cream. But you're gonna slice your hand open to go to the ice cream to...
Well, why not? Because he's
What's he got to lose?
what's he got to lose? He's the
Yeah.
devil. Girls!
I mean, to be fair, we haven't really established if he feels pain in the normal way. He's feeling pain from voodoo.
Yes,
Yeah.
and also, I think one of the things too is the more voodoo magic they use on him, or magic, the more demon comes from him. Because look at him now; he's kind of like later on we'll see his shoe breaks and a demon like foot comes out of it. I think it's like, is it that the more magic you use on him, the more he becomes his true image?
Is he a demon hiding within a man's body that's slowly?
Well, he's what they've made him. Let's not
That's
forget
true, they wish to
they've
wish for
summoned
him.
this up, and that's what he's manifested himself. I like Bartek's and like
Th-
what
this-
you were
that
saying
would've
about that
been a-
earlier. Like,
Yeah. Which is why, because, he was made to be the perfect man for them, the fact that they're rejecting him, like, what would that do to your psyche? That's kind
Yeah.
of my thought process.
that
yeah.
would have been a fun scene to film with him flying across the lawn with all the feathers and stuff.
and trash, just pure trash. Oh man, yeah, this is a monologue I did for NIDA, and they thought it was good enough for me to have a second go.
So everyone, imagine Ryan as we see this.
Hey guys,
So at what point does
younger Ryan.
At what point does a younger Ryan, like, what point does he launch into it? Like from right now?
oh yeah, I walk in like this, like I stumble in
Like, because you're drunk, right?
because I'm drunk.
Yeah.
I'm playing it like I'm drunk guy.
Mm.
And I'm like, oh, sorry, guys. I'm not doing that voice. I'm just doing Jack now. Like, just having a little trouble. Like, I stumble into the room, and that's how I start into this. There you go.
Do you remember the speech still?
No.
A little domestic problem.
A little domestic problem. That's my Jack impression. It's pretty damn good. Oh, Jack Nicholson. Let's not forget he was in Easy Rider as well. I always forget
That was
about
one of
it.
his early films.
That's one of the first things that really broke him into the world. That got him. That's one thing that got him One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So there you go.
Here we go.
I mean, sure, this guy is a
Whoa.
sexual
There's the
predator, but
principle.
all he deserves is a little bit of vom vom on his face. Sexual predator, but a little bit of vom vom. That's all he needs.
That's it.
Huh, so you say he deserves it, but I noticed the priest also got vom vom on him.
Well, it's because he's a sexual predator. He's a priest. I mean,
That's what I thought.
Come on, Bartek.
Also, he's
we
down.
both grew up Catholic. We know the truth.
Also, he's down on the ground level, so he can't be out of frame.
That is true. Unfortunate.
That's what happens when you come off your podium. Is you get
I did
vomit.
notice at the start of the scene he was up there, then it cut to a shot, he wasn't up at the podium, but then you saw, it's because he's at ground level. This film really thought itself through.
Yeah, it did.
Because of that reason.
Just in the positioning of the priest throughout the two scenes.
It's the little things that count.
That's it, guys. We can't release the movie. Why is that? There's a slightly
There's a
small
small
inconsistency. Do you want to reshoot if you're that desperate? Nah, fuck it. This doesn't
There's a
get
small
released.
continuity error, and we're not having a bar of it. That's $100 million down the drain.
I do find it kind of funny that we brought up this whole conversation about is this a cult classic, because if anything, that's kind of what Unappreciated Masterpieces is about, creating films that aren't being loved now for whatever reason and making them loved again. That's kind of our goal.
So you say you're gonna revive the Witches of Eastwick. You're gonna bring it back into the public spotlight.
It'll be the 121st film that we'll do that for.
Well, I've looked up stuff. Sorry, Jack Nicholson's
you're looking
grandparents. You're not incest, maybe. No one knows who Jack Nicholson's dad is. That's why people are like, maybe incest?
I like how he's jumped to that. They're like, "Where's Dad?" Dunno. Probably it was his granddad.
Yeah.
So you said you were looking up stuff. I'm like, oh, he's talking about Adventures in Babysitting again, but no.
Sorry to Adventures in Babysitting.
We'll do you on the show.
Maybe one day we'll do it on the show. It seems unappreciated to me. It was after quite a few good movies. So there you go.
It was low on that list, wasn't it?
Love that this little laugh. He's got to get a little exercise. Classic Jack Nicholson.
And you did all this as well in the thing?
Yeah.
It's a pretty long speech.
Yeah, it was like you have to do like a 4-minute monologue.
4 minute, fair enough.
Yeah, you don't just go in there like, give me a 30-second monologue. It's like, oh boy.
Women.
Is that how you would perform it?
No, that's me doing confused child.
Confused child who...
His name is Nick.
Confused child who really likes, what's his face, Jerry Lewis.
Yeah, he also likes Jerry Lee Lewis, the man who asked the question, can I marry my own 13-year-old cousin?
I had to say that slowly because I was thinking of Jerry Springer.
Springer.
All the Jerrys are
my
interchangeable.
favorite Austin Powers character, Jerry Springer.
I forgot he was in that.
Yeah, the second one.
Yeah, the second one's the best one.
Which has Heather Graham.
It has
yes.
My Sexual Awakening, Heather Graham, yeah. We all went silent for that. I'm like,
Well,
I just
Ryan, you
wanted
were
to-
drinking, so we're like, we
Yeah.
can't make him laugh.
He's also rock hard and is pointing it out to everyone. In
Well,
the
I've
room.
said many times on the podcast that Heather Graham was that actress that kind of was
Many
like
times. Yeah.
many times that actress for me growing up that made me go, oh, I have feelings, and then you're like,
This
oh,
isn't-
these are sexual feelings.
This
of
isn't how I
attraction.
think about my friends at school.
I've just noticed.
No. I'm a movie kid. Go on.
I
You've just noticed?
was just going to say, I've just noticed. Was that Fidel who just came out of the hardware store?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. That's him
Okay.
holding all the big things, and he's like, what happened to me?
They went
Okay.
out together.
Okay.
Yeah,
I wasn't paying attention when I rewatched that part then.
No, there's a lot of visual imagery that you might miss.
Yeah.
Like, I've watched this film many times, and I've never noticed until the rewatch last night that when they defeat Daryl, they have a shot of the windows here, which you see them at now. Daryl's busted through them, and when you see that he's been defeated or burning his little weird, like, fetus body that he has at the end, you see for a quick shot that the frame of the window has been busted off the ground, and it's the shape of a cross. It's kind of neat. It's like a little bit of visual imagery there.
I really like this scene.
Where-
this whole sequence
Yeah.
of him getting thrown, like they're just trying to clean up, and they obviously don't.
See, I
realise
feel like
what
this
he's
is
there.
where George Miller really came to shine with his Mad Max.
Because cars?
Yeah. Well,
Because you undercrank the camera to make it look like it's going fast?
4 wheels and chaos.
That's weird that you describe Babe, Pig in the City, like that.
4 wheels and chaos. 4 wheels, chaos, and bacon.
You know, he did
Kevin Bacon.
Kevin and otherwise.
his next film, Lorenzo's Oil. I got introduced to that film because of the film Paul. You remember Paul with
With
Nick Frost and Simon
Some
Pegg?
Pegg, yeah.
Yeah, there's a
And
secret.
some guy called Seth.
Seth.
Yeah.
I
Seth-
don't mind it. It's a fine
There's
film.
the secret agent guy played by I think Jason Bateman, and he's like, my name's Agent Zoil, and then you find out his first name's Lorenzo. And I'm like, what's that? And you could tell, I could
Yeah,
tell as
yeah.
a young person that's a joke there, and I was like, what the fuck's this joke? And I looked it up, and they're like, oh, it's actually really good. Oh, okay, I should, I'm this guy. well, if they're referencing it, I should check out the movie. And then I
Yeah.
checked out the movie. It's good. It's good. Good time. I mean, depressing a little, but interesting.
Yeah.
I'm like, films.
Agent Zoil.
Lorenzo. And that film asked, can we have frickin' Sigourney Weaver in it? And this film asked, via John Peters, could we have aliens?
Maybe Sigourney Weaver in it.
Fucking John
I would
Peters.
love to know, like, what was the day that they were filming and the alien rocked up on set?
I would really hope it was the day in which...
There's the shoe thing.
Yeah, there's the shoe thing, and his nails
very,
are claw-like, and I
Yeah.
love this effect of him grabbing the handle and its steam comes off of it because his hand is so, like, demon hot. It's like, what is
You
this?
can see where the BAFTA for special effects came.
It's actually really good, though. No, I don't know. This is just an emotional film. Do you think it's funny, though? This is a black comedy. Did you laugh at any point?
I saw where there was slight humor in things, but
I
I guess
exhaled through my nose.
He doesn't laugh, that's why. That's Bartek's voodoo effect.
Stop it.
Lachlan can't laugh, Nick can't get aroused.
What do I do to the doll to make him not laugh?
Oh, you just pointed at it and went, not funny! and then
You
he
reverse
decided not to
tickle.
laugh.
Okay, I
The
see.
old reverse tickle.
The old reverse tickle as Nick calls it in the bedroom.
the reverse tickle.
That's why the women aren't laughing.
It's why it's when I put my hand as in a claw-like position, and then they jump on the top of it, and that way it's the stomach rubbing against the claw, but it doesn't tickle. If anything, it hurts.
It's really funny because in this scene they have to laugh for her to survive. Lines up great. I thought this was funny. I've seen it many times. I like the bird joke that he had earlier in the movie in which he's like,
Where
he's
is it?
talking about like pissing on the bird or whatever.
Trying to find a snowy egret.
And then he's just like, do you want to, have dinner or whatever? And she's like, it's not the season. What, for dinner? No, for pissing on birds.
Very good, Chef.
I love those kind of singers. Those are the great singers. I love those. They always make me weak
Those were
inside. I'm like,
good.
oh,
I think the main thing that made me laugh was the you want to be on top or bottom line.
that made you laugh. Wow.
Because it was right after this really long monologue by Cher, like pretty much shitting on him every 2 seconds.
That is good. Yeah, conceptually, it's very funny.
There was a line in her monologue that I laughed at quite a lot, where she's just like, you just sink to new lows, and you've even managed to find a few new ones while you're there. It's like, just so Cher. I don't know. I thought it was actually funny. What you guys?
Yeah, I don't think it was it's not overtly funny, but there are moments where you're like, I can see the comedy in that.
Yeah.
It's a very Again, I think a lot of it is more subtle.
High
than
standard.
anything.
Yeah, when-
maybe a high standard.
When Susan Sarandon was so aroused, her cello caught fire made me laugh.
Because cellos don't just catch fire like that.
Only
That's
when
just-
Susan's aroused. Ask Tim Robbins.
Well, not anymore.
Not anymore. I mean, you can still ask him though.
You
We
can
were
still ask him. He
together
had
for,
20, he had
dec-
20-something years experience.
They were one of those famous Hollywood couple that didn't get married. Same with
Oh, and there's my headphones. That's fine.
Sorry.
I don't need to hear.
classic Lachlan breaking.
I'm assuming
shit.
everyone can still hear
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. It's just
cool.
headphones. The
Yeah, great.
microphone's
No,
still
I don't know if he kicked out any other cords accidentally. That's fine. I don't know
Classic Lachlan.
Sorry.
It's the
material.
chaos
I'm
of this.
sorry.
It's the chaos of this scene. This is the one where it started to lose me completely, and I thought
It's the giant
cannot
Jack
believe it.
Nicholson.
Because they broke his true form. So no, they broke his form that they made of him.
Oh, and I
so
get
now
that.
he's his true form.
I just thought it was ridiculous.
Well, of course it is. It's a comedy.
You fool!
Of course it is, you fucking pleb.
Get out of here! I know the movie's almost done, but get out of
Wait,
here!
you think George Miller took it a little too far? Are you fucking crazy? Have you watched any Mad Max movie? They're always fucking crazy. Lord Humongous?
Lord,
What are you-
I like this bit. I thought this was very weird when they have the little.
Little burnt fetus thing, because that's what remains of him still.
It's so strange.
And it makes the little noise. And then just disappears. A little pop noise comes along. I can imagine George Miller pitching this to the studio.
And if you don't do this scene, I'm out. I'm not going to direct it.
This is the 1987 version of Baby Groot.
Wow. Could you... Man, it's a real bummer. We won't have Jack Nicholson being in the MCU. I would have loved that. Because he's been a DC character. I would have loved him just to be Tony Stark's crazy uncle. Hey,
That would be a good scene.
hey, it's me, Uncle
No,
Jack.
I'd like to see a version of
Where he plays Stan Lee.
where he plays Mark Ruffalo hulks out, but it just becomes normal Jack Nicholson.
Normal Jack Nicholson. Oh, I would love that too.
He can't be in the Marvel MCU because he has a history.
A history?
Mm-hmm.
What's the history?
Doesn't matter. James Gunn had a history and he's gone.
Oh, topical, boing.
Yeah, but by that regards, I mean Robert Downey Jr. has a history and he's their face.
He's
but you know, fuck that. We don't have continuity of our
But it doesn't
morals.
make sense.
You know what I really love about that whole James Gunn thing? Did they not look back at when he wrote Scooby-Doo and had Scrappy-Doo say, "You don't have the scrote for the job"? Did they not look at that and went, "Maybe not"? Oh, James Gunn let us know from the very beginning what type of guy he was, and they were still surprised. I mean, he wrote Romeo and Juliet,
Which ended on incest, yeah.
The old Nicholson family dilemma.
A couple of episodes ago when we were talking about that when we had Malloy on for Dukes of Hazzard, the reason why he found that line so funny was because he was thinking of Nomeo and Juliet.
Romeo and Juliet.
Well, Nomeo and Juliet ended on
Man,
incest.
he's going to be pumped for Sherlock Gnomes. the movie that asked, can we have Sherlock played by Johnny Depp? Finally.
And
after all
answer
these
is
years, please, yes. Yet they still freaking hire Johnny Depp who beats women. But whatever. Fidel's playing the piano, and look, this is nice. Early in the movie, Jack Nicholson as Daryl said music's the only thing that humbles him and distracts him, which is that classic thing of, you know, often with music is cited to the devil or to hell. I like that Fidel is distracted by music, and that's
I also like that
what
he had
leads to...
I think it was a fiddle that he was playing.
Yeah, of course, because it's the devil.
Yeah. I thought that
Went
was
down to
very
Georgia.
nice little- yeah.
Were any of you expecting there to be not like
An end?
Well, no, every film ends, but
No, there's some that don't.
The
No,
never-ending
no.
story.
Actually, no. If you put the timeline right at the end, it ends.
We must be watching
Try
different
it
movies.
sometime. Seriously.
Boyhood, it took them 12 years to make.
And it's still going. The sequel.
What I wanted to ask is, did anyone expect there to be some sort of twist with Fidel? Like, not necessarily
No.
like, oh, he was the villain all along,
No.
but like something supernatural about him?
No, I just thought he was a humble servant.
Yeah,
I'm surprised he didn't get slightly more screen time, I guess, in some capacity. But
But he got to
was
shake
like-
the little rattle and go,
Yeah.
It's in his contract that he must shake a rattle in every movie he's in.
Look, it's weird. Because Fidel exists and he's a good guy.
Hmm.
I don't know. I think with what Jack Nicholson says in the movie about God and good and evil, like, I don't even think that he... I don't know. I think it's weird. I don't think, like, he's what you would expect the devil to be, like, purebred, unbridled evil. Like, he actually raises several good points. He actually has a moral compass of his own, and I don't know, it's kind of weird. And then you have Fidel, who'd think servant of the devil means evil person as well, right?
you
No,
probably
he's actually a
almost
great guy.
So it's a more realistic representation of what
I
evil
mean, if
would manifest
anything,
itself
like,
as.
you know, Fidel probably just found a shitty job on, like, you know, Craigslist or something.
In the 80s.
Yeah, the 80s Craigslist.
He saw a job board and was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I could
He
do
had to
it.
bend down to look at it, though, because he's really tall.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe they put it at the top. Who knows? You know, who's to say how tall this?
Maybe it
job
was
board
it was the only notice that was pinned that high up that he could read. And he's like, well, it'll do.
I'm glad that that actor still gets a lot of work. I mean, he's a very interesting guy. In the new series of Twin Peaks, he got lots of dialogue and lots of things to do. Oh, that makes sense. The special effects makeups were done by Rob Bottin, who did the special effects to The Thing.
Don't talk about buttons in front of Nick, please.
It's Bottin. The Thing.
It's too close.
Man, honestly, The Thing, all those practical effects in The Thing, that was his first real ever movie he did. He was only 23. And I sit there and I look at myself, I'm like, fuck, when I was 23, I wasn't doing the best practical effects ever in a movie, ever.
I mean, I'm
You
23
started
now.
this
and I'm-
podcast.
I saw this fucking idiotic podcast in which I talk about the greatest films ever made, and that leads us into the reviews that we're going to give on this, because the film has unfortunately ended. I know. I'll start first because I'm a very talkative guy. I love the movie. I grew up with the movie, and yeah, maybe I do have a bias towards that, but I still think that this is an interesting story that, yes, we've heard before and we've seen it translated before, but I think it's the execution and the characters themselves, because we talk about Jack Nicholson a lot, but the three women themselves are all very interesting characters, and not just because of the actresses. I think that they're pretty well-defined characters, and you kind of do understand why they're friends. But is it an unhealthy friendship? Because they're all friends because of their suffering of men, and it's like the film kind of raises this. It's like, if we put the candle towards the feet of this idea. How will it react? Because we have Susan Sarandon becomes really bitchy and possessive once she gets a man, while Cher becomes a little bit more adventurous and happy-go-lucky, and Michelle Pfeiffer's a bit more fearful of it.
It's the 1980s version of The Bachelor.
Man, if Jack Nicholson was on the Celebrity Bachelor, could you?
Like, that's the post-credit scene. Osher Gunsberg's going to come out right now and say, Jack Nicholson has 2 roses. Unfortunately, one of you ladies will be going home tonight.
Much shorter film that way.
The roses are given to the people who leave, right?
Yeah.
He gives them to himself, and he's I'm too old for this. And
they get given to people who stay. Not important.
This was a fun film. I enjoy it very much. I have a great attachment towards it, and I still think it holds up and has some interesting concepts and ideas. I think George Miller is very talented. I think they put a lot of energy in, even though you can tell that the studio were fearful of the creative vision that was put into it and tried to meddle with it. That is the one downside of the movie is it's a movie that you can tell has been interfered with by the studio, which is always very upsetting to have, but it still works. One day I would really like to see if they would ever have a director's cut of this, because I reckon you could have a bit more of a cohesive movie there. Because, George Miller, he no matter what you think about him, he has clear visions of what he wants to do in a movie. If I have to give this a rating, which I do...
It's your show, mate. Don't sound surprised.
I say it every episode.
Yes.
I would give
it's
this...
his way of stalling.
I actually know my answer. I just want to look at Nick dead in the eye and give him a little, raise the eyebrow when I said it, which I do. I give this a wooden jar inside of a wooden can.
That can't happen.
Why not?
You monster!
Jars are bigger than cans, dummy.
Do you know that for a fact?
Yes.
I have a little jar over there.
I would say the majority of cans are the same size as that of the standard size jar.
Well, Nick, since you're already talking, Lachlan, could you give us a review?
Since you're already talking, please go.
Since you're already talking, if you could stop doing that so I may talk now. Rewatching this film, it didn't hold up for as much as I remember it as a child. That being said, it's an enjoyable film. It's one that you can pop on and, it kills 2 hours. The climax at the end with the voodoo scene...
It's crazy.
It's crazy, and that still holds up better than some films with special effects nowadays would hold up in, what did you say, 31 years later?
31 years later.
31 years later. So yeah, in that regard, I enjoyed it, and as we spoke about multiple times today, it's surprising that a cast this great, a director this great, it just hasn't stood the test of time. But yeah, if you pop it on, kill 2 hours. I'll give it 3 forgotten children out of 6 forgotten children.
Oh,
that's pretty good.
Not bad.
That's pretty good.
Fairly
I
positive.
like forgotten children.
Bartek? Take that, Nick.
I'm not overly offended.
Well, the logic is since you were talking, you don't do it, and since I'm not talking, I do it. It's...
Okay, I'll just give my review again, shall I? Bastard,
I grew up with it. It was great. I give it a jar out of a can, even though it makes no sense.
A jar in a can. That's what I said.
Oh, sorry, the thing I said made sense.
No, fuck you.
Logic has no place on this podcast.
Do I need to do your review for you, Bartek? Hey, it's me, Bartek!
Yeah, that's just every impression you do.
We've learned that Ryan's got one voice in him.
That's not
And
true.
it's Gilbert Godfrey fucking Vincent D'Onofrio.
I have my female voice. Hey, it's me, Bartek! It's
Which
very
is also
different.
sort of your Josh Peck.
Oh, no, my Josh Peck is pretty good. My young Josh Peck
Give us your Josh
impression
Peck.
is pretty good.
Yeah.
So, if you've seen the film Snow Day,
Yeah.
he says, Man of La Mancha. For
Man
no...
oh man of La Mancha.
Man of La Mancha. It's like, oh man of La Mancha! It's pretty dead on.
It's not bad. I mean,
The other one
it's
Ryan
fine.
always
So
goes...
now here's what you got to do. You got to edit when you're editing this podcast. You edit out what you've just said and
put
put
in-
in the actual line, and then
But
all your
it's pretty spot on. It's actually,
With all the,
if you see
whimsical music behind
If you
it.
see the movie, you'll hear it, and you're like, actually, Ryan nailed that.
The other go-to impression that Ryan does is Paul Giamatti.
Which is very similar to every other one, which is my Paul Giamatti is an angry, exacerbated man because he got nominated for a Razzie for Big Fat Liar. It's like, hey, it's me, Paul Giamatti. I was in Sideways. Respect
Bartek,
me.
rate this for us.
And review it if you want.
Do I have to or if I want?
You have to rate it, but you can review it.
That wasn't in the guidelines for this show.
I make up the rules as I go along. I'm a Witches of Eastwick boy.
Which sounds like the worst gang ever.
Dude.
I was gonna say, so,
Witches of Eastwick boys.
Why do you think they've got
like a fandom
Why do you
more
think
than
we've
a
got the
gang.
public transport cops staying out on train platforms till the end of the night? Because the Witches of Eastwick boys are around.
There was a screening on
gonna
the...
pay for what you did.
There's a late night screening out of the Astor, and they get real riled up on the way home.
It's a Jack Nicholson enthusiasts out there. They're really fucking wild. Hey, in Melbourne, they have the ACMI, where they have all
Acme, yeah.
the Acme. They actually call it the ACMI
I think
themselves.
is that right in the heart of the MELBOURNE?
But that's what they actually call it at the Acme. They call it the ACMI when you walk in.
No, I've taken a TRAIN there.
Yeah, so what? You know how they have the Mad Max car there?
Yeah,
How come they don't have Jack Nicholson there? Just sitting
as a
around
living exhibit.
just smoking. And they're like, "Could you not smoke in here?" And he just throws an Oscar at them and goes, "Fuck off!"
And I've got 2 more, motherfuckers!
Bartek
Well, ACMI also has... Acme also has an Oscar there.
I think
don't
they've
they?
got 2.
for Harvey
they?
Crumpet.
They've got one for Harvey Crumpet, and I think Kate Blanchett donated one.
So Bartek, how many Kate Blanchetts do you give it?
None.
Okay,
Because I have to give it my review first.
hit us.
This movie is very good. I give it a Powie out of a 1987 drone.
Fantastic. And
Two spectacular
I guess
references.
next we have got
Run
to
out of
listen
time
to
tonight.
Nick. We've got to listen to Nick talk. Okay, go on.
Apologies to Matt Damon, we've run out of time.
This was fine. I am never going to go out of my way to watch this movie again. I have very neutral feelings towards it. I like how it looks. I like the last scenes, but I didn't find the storyline terribly engaging in any sense. And I did not enjoy that. But I think because, I mean, as with a lot of 80s films and just how they hold up over time in terms of visually and aesthetically, I like the warm glow, and I like where it was set. So it was enjoyable to watch, but not to listen to.
Oh, really? I thought the music was awesome.
Oh, look! If
I
we're
mean,
talking
John Williams'
score, I mean,
score.
like, I'm
It sounded
talking
like John Williams wanted to be Danny Elfman.
I'm talking like dialogue translating to storyline. Like in general,
okay.
like I guess from an audio standpoint, yeah, it was fine. So,
Okay,
Someone's
not
playing
every
hard to get.
not everything can be surfed
So
ninjas level.
I give it. Well, I would love to give it a 3 water bananas out of a surf ninja, if I may.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
He was very neutral on it. I'll tell his wife I said hello.
Now imagining a surf ninja.
That's
like,
a
vomiting
Futurama reference there
watermelon.
for you.
I will.
The neutral people. My gut feeling says maybe. Guys, the episode is nearly to a close, but for a fun little thing we didn't tell you before we started doing this was
We're gonna watch it again in reverse.
No, we
It does
have,
sound like fun.
we have gathered some different opinions from online. Bartek has some reviews from IMDb. Because some people have some interesting thoughts about the movie.
Right.
Bartek's got a review for each one of us we can read, because why not? You like reading, don't you, Nick?
Hey,
you can join words
I
together.
definitely can read.
And Nick's like, I wrote them all, so I already know what they are.
I definitely can read, and it's a skill that I'm fine to exhibit.
Yeah, I definitely am comfortable reading the English language right now.
Those letters
speaking it.
in orders.
Bartek, you've got to start us off. You're
I
going to
will,
read
yes.
one or two straight off the bat, and then we can read one each.
Mm-hmm.
Well, tell us what IMDb had to say, because I imagine they're all positive. I mean, Roger Ebert gave it a thumbs up.
They're not on the extremes of like a 1 or a 10, but they are all in like that middle range.
There's Nick wrote him, okay.
Yeah, and I will just say, I don't know if you guys have listened to an episode before, but I always gather like YouTube comments and IMDb reviews just to get real opinions.
Yeah, sure, that's a good idea.
That's
in
why.
air quotes.
Well, we're professionals. These are people who just watched a movie,
Yeah.
and they have an IMDb account or YouTube account, and they went, I want to share my fact. I want to share my opinion.
I say real in air quotes because a lot of people think like, oh, it's on the internet, they're
Yeah.
dumb. But this is the thing. Professional reviewers, they do all their little fluffy stuff, like Roger Ebert saying, this person was in this movie, and now they're in this film, and it's not as good, and that's the review. These are
Dwayne The Rock Johnson gave me a cookie, so I give the movie a thumbs up. That's an actual review.
these are real people
For
that
this
had
one?
thoughts.
No, for
Race to Witch Mountain.
Dwayne The
Not
Rock
for-
Johnson gave him homemade cookies, and he gave it a thumbs up.
Not fair. Hey, do what you gotta do.
These people aren't being paid, they're just giving their opinions.
All right.
And those opinions are.
Yes, and I've gathered 5. 2 of them were very short, so I'll read both of them, but then we have 1 each.
And all in the English language again.
100% English, I promise. The first review is titled, "This movie is disgusting." It is from the 3rd of July 1999. IMDb apparently exists a very long time.
Oh yeah, we know that.
Yeah, we do.
We had fresh reviews for the Jonathan Taylor Thomas classic, I'll Be Home for Christmas.
Yes, we did. And this one has no rating.
Oh, they loved it that much.
0.
The title is "The movie is disgusting."
Yeah,
Yeah.
they made it
got
like this.
that.
They made it like this. The movie is disgusting.
Sorry, this movie is-
This movie is disgusting. 3 stars.
It was good at first, but then when it started getting towards the end, I wanted more and more for the movie to end and quit disgusting me! Oh, yeah. And if you like cherries, don't see it.
Wow.
I like my favorite part of that is as it got towards the end, I kept waiting for it to get towards the end. Good. You're going to enjoy the rest of it then.
You enjoyed what you got.
You're in
That's
for
how movies
what you
work. They
expect.
kind of ramp you up for the ending.
As we came towards the finish, I was looking forward to
the
the
finish.
end.
Bartek,
Yep.
another one you
That
got.
was the shortest one. This is the second shortest. It's just titled "Okay Movie"
Wow.
from the 29th.
Are they saying it like it's an okay movie or okay movie?
Like, settle down.
Or they're ready
We
to
get it.
Or they're about to fight. Okay movie as they roll up their sleeves.
I interpreted it as like "Okay Movie." It's whatever.
Okay.
Or maybe okay stand. No, we can't get into the.
It's from the 29th of May 2000, day before my 7th birthday, and it is a.
Same.
For all of those playing along at home.
Who have,
All you time travelers out there listening to this.
who have their calendars at home marking days in relation to Bartek's birthday.
Look, I don't care if they know my birthday, but just for the mathematically challenged, it's the 30th of May. Write
Guys,
that down.
We know who the real listener is, Bartek's mum, and she needed to be reminded when his birthday was. It was a hint, hint. She forgot this year, and he's really upset about it.
Tough.
Did she? No.
Like, if I said yes, he probably would have believed it.
Yeah.
no, I share a birthday with a cousin that's 20 years younger than me, so no one forgets.
No one can forget. So tell us about this unforgettable review.
The rating is 3 out of 10. No, don't clap at that.
Oh, okay.
Clapped too many times.
I have to do a reverse clap. Yep.
That's how it would sound to you.
That's how rewinding sounds.
Go on.
Look it up.
Hit me.
This movie has good acting, but is overall nothing special. It also falls prey to a feminine liberation fantasy. There is also no nudity. No, get
3 stars.
No, get this. 3 out of 10. But there is also no nudity. 6 out of 10. I believe somebody who checks it out will fall prey to one of 2 hopes. Seeing one of the 3 beautiful female leads naked, or a gripping, exciting witchcraft battle between them and Nicholson. In either case, they will be disappointed.
I didn't even think of either of those options.
No, never even thought about any of them, especially the
No nudity. 3 stars.
Well, as we know, I was very anti the nudity because I wanted to refrain from being aroused.
The one right there at the top.
This title is called A Weird Chick Flick. Dated to the 15th of March 2015. 5 out of 10.
That's pretty good.
Now, point out the red text also.
Oh, this has spoilers.
Yes.
So if you got to the end of this...
If you're listening to this podcast but you weren't watching along with it,
You might have spoilers.
Does that mean to say they wrote that?
No, it's what IMDb puts down when you put
If your
spoilers.
review has spoilers, it has the warning spoilers in it.
So,
Okay.
spoilers.
Just in case people listening right now skipped right to the end to hear what we thought before
That being
they
said,
watched it.
some reviews do have spoiler alert in them because
Right.
they typed it.
Yeah, I decided to get to this movie because the other movie I got, a Goofy movie, made me uneasy remembering how long ago it's been since I've seen it. But it turns out I was wrong. A Goofy movie, a kid flick, was better than this movie. But don't get me wrong or anything. But this movie was weird and funny at some points.
yeah.
While it failed in some places and made me feel like I was watching the adult version of Twilight. Though I do like the 2 church scenes. I'm breaking up because there's a lot of full stops in here. The first one being where the woman starts screaming about whores and how she knows about what the 3 women are doing. The second scene I liked was when Van Horn was vomiting up cherries. Overall, it was a good film, and I would recommend it to someone who enjoys these old campy 80s movies. Otherwise, I would pass this movie up. I mean,
They sound like they liked it.
Yeah.
But they only have found.
But what did they think about the lack of nudity?
Yeah, did they say?
It's 3 out of 10, but 6 out of 10.
Yeah. So pass it over, Lachlan. Give him the next one
very-
after
very
that.
questionable.
Where are we? Okay, so this one is called "Who Knew Witches Could Be This Hot?"
I did.
This was written by Ryan. A 6-year-old Ryan.
Hey guys, I got an idea.
Hot witches.
Witches, they're hot.
Who'd have thought?
And then John Peters is sitting there stroking his chin like, how can I work aliens into this?
Alright, let's hear
Go
it.
on, Lachlan.
Who Knew Witches Could Be This Hot? Dated from the 20th of June 2008. It's a 7 out of 10 review.
They didn't mind it.
All right,
They loved it.
This might very well have been Ryan.
I would have given it a 10, buddy.
I feel like almost Ryan should be reading this one. Just
Just read it
Okay.
to us. Hit us.
I want to
You
read the
can
last
do
one.
your impersonation of me.
Doing anyone.
doing Gilbert Godfrey.
They're doing every-
Witches could be? That's not Gilbert Godfrey. All right. Anyway, here we go. I might watch this film now and think it's terrible, but my memory of it was it's pretty decent. Cher, Susan Sarandon, and Michelle Pfeiffer play 3 smoking witches, and they gang up in tormenting Jack Nicholson. I saw this when I was fairly young, so there's no doubt a lot of adult humour that went right over my head. I do remember a scene in which the 3 witches make Nicholson start coughing up chicken feathers. That kind of freaked out my younger brain. Obviously, it's not the person to go for. Obviously, I'm not the person to go to for a thorough summary of this film.
I'll write a review anyway.
Well, you did hear what his premise was. He saw it when he was younger.
Yeah, obviously, I'm not the person to go to for a thorough summary of this film, so you're forgiven if you ignore my comments entirely. Grade B+.
Fucking, I love how they still gave it up.
I love how they reviewed it and at the end go, just disregard everything I said, because
Take it with a
obviously...
grain of
Oh
salt.
my god, I guess I did a bunch of foreshadowing on this because the next one is
Yeah, I
called
specifically wanted you to do this one, Ryan.
Smells Like a Stephen King Work, in brackets.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, this is the full title. Oh god. Smells Like a Stephen King Work, in brackets, Dad.
I specifically wanted you to read this one, Ryan. Yeah.
Oh my god, it was written in 2017 on the 5th of April. 7 out of 10. Oh god. Especially needful things, because it's a devil coming to a small town to unleash chaos and mayhem. As all devils, he seduces, especially women. In brackets, this is the strange point here. This one is obsessed about how obsessed about their creation. Full stop. I was sure to have a good with Michelle, and it was. And it was. Cher left me always cold with her look obsession, but here she has something interesting, while Sarandon is a bit less dreadful than usual. Honestly, Nicholson is disappointing because he stays the same, the grace of an elephant in a porcelain store. He seems stuck to maximum volume. It's great when he is upset, but it's too much otherwise, and useless when the scene needs subtlety. I don't really understand his look here, and it seems unlikely a devil needs to book a trick. I guess they don't do booking of tricks. Special effects by ILM are sometimes awful. In brackets, that tennis game. Williams' score is average, if not close to Harry Potter. So not a perfect movie, but great on girl power and sometimes more punchy than King himself. I like how they make it seem like Stephen King. When did the dad part
I
come?
know, right?
Was it written by? It's like
It's written by Stephen King's daughter.
This is on Michael's account, but I'm going to let everyone know that it's his dad doing it.
No, I thought it was Stephen King's son or something. It's like, let you know he's my dad.
Yeah, when I read that, I'm like, what? Where's this gonna go?
So that's the end of the show, unfortunately. The movie has ended. We've read the reviews. Guys, it was so fantastic to have you on. I mean,
Pleasure
this is
to
the
be
second
here.
time we've had guest podcasting. We had the San Dimas guys on for Johnny Mnemonic and you guys for the Witches of Eastwick. It's always fantastic. I mean, we've guested on your show. It's a
Indeed.
fun show for
You
those
have.
who haven't had a listen before.
I'd
Is there an
recommend go check it
episode you would recommend? Like, is there one when you say, like, obviously your favorites, but is there one where you're like, hey, if you want to get to know what our style is like, maybe check out this episode, or just anything will do?
I reckon you can jump in anywhere,
Yeah,
really.
it's good that it's not sequential. I mean, if people are listening to this, Boy Band of Brothers is the episode we did with you guys.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I'd recommend that. That was a lot of fun. I think if you listen from the earlier days of the show to the more recent ones, you start to see us sort of drop off, and it gets a bit more chaotic, which I think is more fun. And it makes
Oh,
it
I thought you were
better
going to
for
say,
listening.
like, drop off in terms of just like, I'm just depressed now. It's like, fuck it, we'll make whatever movie we want, just let it end.
Fuck it, we'll do it live!
We'll do it live, just kill me.
Yeah, but I would say, look, Boy Band of Brothers is probably as good as anything
Yeah.
to see, I would imagine. Or
You
hear.
guys done a live one, right?
Yeah,
We did do a live show, yeah.
You gonna do it again?
Uh,
At the Fringe?
So we did Melbourne International Comedy Festival 2018, and
Yeah.
then we're probably not going to do Fringe because just for timing at the moment.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
we can't apply
Do it
for
again
Fringe
at the
right
comedy next year?
Hard to say. It's
Was it good?
Potentially, never say
I,
never.
mean,
we-
I've listened to your copy of it, but what's it like to do a live version of just that anyway?
It's weird. I think, and I feel like, I mean, we can probably openly say this,
Yeah.
where
Well,
we definitely enjoyed it. From a performance aspect, it's very fun. We had a lot of people there, but I think that there was also a lot of people that necessarily didn't understand it
What
because it's
it
very
is.
it's very niche thing.
Well, then tell them the review your dad gave.
My dad's review was, people laughed, they seemed to like it, so that's all you can really ask for.
Is that a review of the audience?
No, of
No,
them.
the show.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
okay.
I mean,
We went up to Nick's dad and go, so what did you think? And he goes, people laughed.
Not
They
him
seemed to enjoy
though.
it.
Not
Yeah.
him though. Not him though.
Dad definitely isn't the demographic. I consider it was like reasonably successful. I think it's
Man,
comfortable.
it's
We
weird.
sold out. It was good.
How's his podcast live shows going these days?
Pitching fruit
pitch
appliances,
fruit.
whatever.
It's pretty good. They do a weekly one at the local fruit
At the
greengrocer.
RSL.
Yeah, we might do some live shows in the near future. Who knows?
Well,
See how we go.
guys at home, check them out. The pitch of this podcast. I mean, fun times had there. I mean, some really wacky, weird movies have been made there.
Some weirder than Witches of Eastwick.
Some weirder than this, but we're the ones that cover the movies that not enough people are talking about,
That's it.
and this is one of them. Unfortunately, you can find, I think, us. I don't know about you guys. We're on all the social medias. We're on the Facebook, the
As are
Twitter. We're on all
Do you
the.
want to plug anything else while we're here, Locke? Like, when are you working at the pub next?
I'm
What pub? When can I get a drink? Can we give it to me
This
for
episode
free?
comes out on Tuesday. So.
yeah.
Give it to me for free.
I'm trying to sell some couches on Gumtree, so I don't know.
Give him a ring. We'll include the number and the information below.
Yeah, we're on picture this as the podcast. and everything.
At Picture This Pod on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, MySpace. I got us a MySpace.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I was very happy with that.
It only took me a year and a half.
We're on all the
geez.
platforms.
Yeah, I saw that
We're on
too.
the iTunes. Spotify finally got around to putting us on.
I always find is weird at the back end of shows being like, "Hey, this is where you can find us." But like, if
You've
you're listening,
found
you've
us.
Probably found
yeah,
us.
but then they might be like, it's so annoying that I'm listening to this only available, I think, on the Spanish streaming site for podcasts because there is one.
You
Spanish
got that?
porn sites.
Yeah, we're on a podcast site that's only for Spanish people. It's like it's all in Spanish.
Oh, good.
I don't know why.
I think it's missing our first 24 episodes. Or
Yeah,
something.
because I guess we weren't Spanish enough in the first 24.
if anyone bootlegs us, then this information will be
So-
helpful.
To the Spanish listeners, hola.
I don't speak Spanish or Polish, so there you go.
Mi nombre es Señor Nick.
And
Amigo.
until next time,
See.
remember to be kind to each other out there because, this film really was all about kindness at the end of the day.
And the lack of kindness led to a lot of crazy things.
And aliens.